Hey, it's Matt Hartnett from Aftershocks TV, and you're experiencing Poppitt's Corner.
All right, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Poppitt's Corner. And I got a distinct pleasure of introducing, somebody who doesn't really get interviewed, but he gives interviews. So I'd like to bring on Mr. Andy Ford. How you doing today, sir? Thanks for fucking having me.
Tanner, no, thanks for having me. Actually, having me in my own room.
Right. Well, it just ended up working out this way.
It worked out way better this way. Yeah, I know. I've been meaning to. I told you I've been doing this for a while. You know, ever since you've been coming on Razor Radio, I told you I'd do Pop's Corner. So
yeah,
here I am finally.
One of these days or whatever, we had to get you on, but I appreciate the opportunity. And what you call it? So the basis of the show, I'm going to I want to go through your whole career, and tell maybe the people that you've been interviewing for fucking years your story instead
the
of
music career, the music industry, right? We're not talking like you don't want to know about the Navy and who I killed and all.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We're going to get through all that shit, dude. And I have questions, obviously, on how you got to L.A. Like, so it's just going to be an in-depth interview of, of your fucking life.
I'm down.
And nobody knows you better than you.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
If you're ready, let's fucking get started
Let's do it. Are we out on Poppitt's Corner?
We are. We are live, broadcasting live as we speak. I will upload the podcast later on the Spreaker account, and hopefully Razor will get a fucking Spreaker soon enough.
Hi, everybody out there.
But anyway, for now, this is what it is. So I think let's get started. Let's start from the beginning. So I want to know how, your first recollection of, you listening to music, and what was it?
Oh, it was Jimmy Buffett, actually, when I was a little kid. I have an uncle that's 6 years older than me, and he's more like my mom's youngest brother. He's more like my older brother than an uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And he got into Jimmy Buffett when he was a teenager because he was into buck. He was one of those guys from the 70s who was total stoner. Had the bell bottoms, buck knife on, hunted ducks, taxidermy. And he got into Jimmy Buffett, and he got me into the album Son of a Sailor. It was
now,
the first
what year was this?
77, maybe.
So you were
8.
8? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it had Cheeseburger in Paradise on it. That's how, I was 8 years old. I thought, Cheeseburger in Paradise, yeah. that kind of shit. He was all right. He said a couple bad words on the album, so, this isn't that. And then I got into Kiss, of course, because everybody, if you're in the metal, you probably got into Kiss. But as soon as they hit with the Phantom of the Park, and I got out of it.
Like the late 70s. So, how was that kind of your starting point to getting into heavier music?
AC/DC was mine, not Kiss. It was AC/DC all the way. When I was in 6th grade, I remember hearing Highway to Hell. Something just tingled right to me. And then 4 months later, fucking Back in Black came out, and everybody in 6th grade had it. We were all about AC/DC. And Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll.
Hearts,
okay. The Black Hearts, I Love Rock and Roll album. Because it was, when I was in 6th grade, it was number one for that song was number one in the country for 8 weeks.
Right. This was right after she left the Runaways.
About 2 years.
Yeah. That's fucking crazy. So talk to me. So your living situation. So you were living in Santa Rosa,
which is the North Bay area.
Not L.A., but in
Santa Rosa. I've only lived in L.A. for since 2010.
Yeah, we'll get to all that.
But
stuff.
no, I grew up and born and raised in Santa Rosa, Northern California. Santa Rosa about 35, 40 miles north of the Golden Gate.
And were your parents kind of supportive of this?
Not at all.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Not at all. Neither one of them liked heavy metal,
time.
and they were divorced when I first started getting into music. They divorced when I was 11. So I first started getting into music, and it kind of soothed me when the divorce was going on. I'm from that era when all our parents are divorced, it seems like. I think that's fucked a lot of kids up, actually.
You were the first generation of that.
Oh, yeah, the baby boomers. They were the first ones that started divorcing. My grandparents, when my grandparents ever got divorced or anything like that. But our parents, wow.
I only can imagine. So, okay, so that kind of helped you just get through a shitty situation.
Oh, yeah.
To develop. Did you have friends that were into, this style of music?
Oh, yeah. All kinds. Everybody, like I said, everybody in 6th grade was into AC/DC.
So you had a lot of friends.
Oh, yeah, and then the first record I bought with my own money was Black Sabbath's Heaven and Hell in 1980. Because I bought it because I was Catholic. I went to Catholic school till 7th grade, And I had to fucking buy it because we were Catholic and it had angels smoking on the cover. That was the reason why I bought Black Sabbath. I didn't know anything about them. And fucking album ruled. You know that Heaven and Hell rules.
Of course.
And it's to this day, it's why I'm a bigger Dio. I think Dio's better with Sabbath than fucking Ozzy.
I always thought
Dio's
so
got a
too.
much better voice than Ozzy myself. But I like Ozzy. Ozzy's funny and he's fun. But Dio, he's got the power.
Yeah,
He's a fucking neon knight. Put it that way.
I always preferred that kind of style of singing, I guess, for Sabbath.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
Tony Martin is still my favorite.
Heaven and Hell and fucking Mob Rules. And then fucking, you go back to the compilation, We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll. That pretty much describes my first Black Sabbath
were
fucking
you
records.
buying vinyls?
I was buying vinyl and 8-track, believe it or not.
And 8-track.
I had my uncle had a killer 8-track in his truck, so we'd listen to those. But then he started giving me old 8-tracks, and I had one of these portable 8-track with like a boom box, except you slid the 8-track in the side, you had a little thing to go with it, and it was a portable 8-track player. Put batteries in it. And I still remember having AC/DC's Back in Black on fucking 8-track, and it pissed me the fuck off because Back in Black was cropped between track 2 and track 3, and the fucking and the solo would fade out,
Right.
click click, and then fade back in.
Well, that's how 8-tracks worked,
Yep.
right? Because I'm obviously
yeah.
have no knowledge of that shit.
You could some of the nicer stereos you could fast forward them, but you couldn't rewind them or anything like that. 8-tracks only went in one direction. So if you wanted to hear a song again, you had to drive around the block, fucking 8, 9, 10.
I'm sure you guys did that too.
Yeah,
I'm sure
or you
fucking
learned
did.
where, like, because you had 4 tracks. When one song was playing on like the 4th track, if you hit all right, when you hit the first chorus, if you click twice, the next song will start on this other track. Dude, you learned that shit, dude.
Wow. So going forward, I guess.
Yeah.
So you started buying 8-tracks, right?
8
Didn't
tracks
have a
into
car.
vinyl.
You didn't have a car.
Oh, dude,
at
I was
the
only
time.
8,
Right,
9 years
you're
old.
right.
I had a bike.
Were cassettes?
No, cassettes didn't start till a little bit further on in the 80s. Yeah. People started, it was vinyl and 8-track when I first started listening to music. And then 8-track slowly fed more vinyl, and then cassettes started coming in. But that was 81, 82.
for you or whatever.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And then, because I was buying a lot of vinyl back then, getting a lot of vinyl.
How did you fucking keep it a secret from your folks, too? Did you have a little stash?
Oh
in
no,
the
no,
fucking room or
I didn't
something?
keep it a secret. They didn't like the music. They let me listen to it, but I'd always hear turn that shit out. Now, one of the best times ever. We'll talk about my father and his music. I was listening to Suicidal Tendencies. I saw your mommy and your mommy. He came in. What the fuck are you listening to? And I'm like, Suicide. He's like, you want me to play that song for your mother? I'm like, it's not my mom, Dad. It's someone else's. And he just walked out of the room shaking his head. And that was really, Suicidal was my gateway to punk because I was part of that culture when we first started coming to music. Punks and metalheads did not get along. We fought. And we would fight and all that stuff. And there were people that tried to get me into the Dead Kennedys and the Clash, even the Sex Pistols. And I wasn't having any of it. The one band that finally, after thrash started, all that got me to cross over into punk was Suicidal.
So
that
this
first
is
Suicidal record.
obviously way later in your like.
No, it's about 3 or 4 years later.
But you were so. My point is, so let's go back to when you first started going to actual concerts, right? So what was your first concert?
Ted Nugent at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds with Scanners opening up. I think it was a Penetrator tour.
Okay, so what's that?
82.
82. So wow, so even though you were listening to like Kiss in the 70s, your first concert wasn't until the early 80s.
I liked. Well, yeah, I was. Let's see, 1969, 79. Right. I was 10. I think I was 13. 13, but my dad dropped us off. Me and my buddy John Cavanaugh dropped us off at the Ted Nugent show on our own.
And how was that experience?
It was fucking awesome. But one of the things I'll still never forget was this is my first concert, right? We got in and Scanners had all their gear set up, right? I was like, that shit looks kind of small for fucking. I didn't realize there was a whole backdrop and everything was gonna fucking drop. I was like, that looks kind of small for Ted to play on, man. Ted's bigger than life. And then I finally realized there was a backdrop and he had this big fucking stage set up.
And you're just like, oh shit.
Okay, that's when I realized, that's when I said, this is for me. My second concert, big concert, was fucking Motley Crue.
Wow.
Too Fast for Love. They played the Santa Rosa Vets building on Halloween in, I think it was either 82 or 83 with Vicious Rumors.
Really?
So, yeah, Vicious Rumors I used to go to kegger parties with Vicious Rumors. That's how well they were in Santa Rosa,
So you saw them with like the Vinnie Moore era.
Before Vinnie Moore.
Before Vinnie Moore. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw Carl fucking just.
Yeah, I can't remember the other
dude.
guitar. And then this was.
I'm talking about the singer, dude.
Yeah, I remember. Carl Albert, and then I remember when we start. Well, we'll get to it, the fanzines. But I remember Vinny Moore coming out of the fucking studio. We were somewhere by fucking Mike Varney's shit. He's like, "Who's got the magazine?" He's just fucking throwing these. Holy shit! But we'll get to that.
I'm excited. I'm excited to get to all this shit. But so around that time though, there was kind of a I mean, you were in San Francisco, so the whole metal scene was kind of changing around that time because people were discovering like the new wave of British heavy metal. It was
Y&T.
Right.
Y&T was huge in they were probably my favorite local band until other stuff started. You know what I mean? Until thrash started. They were awesome. Fucking Black Tiger, I think, is a perfect record.
Didn't you see them on that tour too?
Oh yeah.
I
saw them Black Tiger.
So around like their early '80s, this is when obviously you were seeing shows.
Yeah, they would play. They would play
Francisco.
the Phoenix Theater and McNair's and yeah.
But before
All 80 show.
But before the thrash movement kind of happened, what were some of the shows you were?
Oh, I saw Judas Priest on Scream for Vengeance.
Okay.
With Coney Hatch. I saw Iron Maiden on Peace of Mind with Saxon and Fastway. I saw the Power Slave tour with Twisted Sister and Lita Ford. See what other big shows did I see? I saw the Who on their fucking one of their farewells with the Clash opening up. As a matter of fact, what other? My uncle. We tried to go to AC/DC 3 times, and something has always happened. And to this day, I have not seen AC/DC.
We might have to change that.
That has something has always either I've had to work or the tickets sold out too fast, and then they went too expensive. But I have never seen AC/DC.
Now, and how would you get tickets for these concerts? Would you literally go to like
we would wait for like the
like
Judas Priest Defenders of the Faith tour, and like Coney I would shoot us on Screaming and all that. I was like a freshman, but I hung out with seniors and a couple of juniors, guys that had cars. Dave Alfaro, shout out, Clay Akey, and we would go camp out the night before tickets went on sale at Ticketmaster. I mean, we would literally be there all night waiting for tickets to go on sale, buy them, boom, boom, get as close as we could. And then when we decided to go to one of these big concerts, we would leave the night before the concert, like Sacramento or San Francisco, especially Sacramento at Cal Expo, because it was like an hour and a half drive, right? Mm-hmm. And we would just wait all day in the parking lot. But we'd be some of the first people. We'd always have somebody right in line. We'd all go fuck around, but we'd get in, and it's general admission, and we'd fucking run for the fucking fence.
Just to fucking get in line.
Get as close as we could to the fucking stage.
And you would be there all day, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, somebody would. But the great thing about Cal Expo up there, where they have the state fair and stuff in Sacramento, they had water slides. If you had a ticket to the show that day, you could go on the water slides for free. So we'd rotate in and out.
I was just saying.
I saw Scorps with Bon Jovi there in the early 80s. I saw fucking Priest with Great White. Who else? I saw Dio on the Last in Line tour with Y&T and Whitesnake.
Opening the show?
Whitesnake opened. It was with John's guys, John
Sykes.
the Slide
It
In tour.
Okay.
And Y&T was on fucking the album after.
In Rockford Trust?
In Rockford Trust, right after the one after Black Tiger.
The last of that
good
original lineup or whatever. So my point on this is I'm assuming, like you said, one had to wait because pee breaks. Like you would have to fucking hold your piss.
Well, yeah, but we had that was the same thing even when I got into thrash later. My buddy Dave Alfaro had a fucking Chevelle, and it had bench seats in it. That's what kids don't understand today, because they don't make cars with bench seats anymore. And you could slide fucking like 6 people in the back with bench seats, across the front, across the back. And we'd slide fucking 8 people, 9 people in the Chevelle and drive up. And we'd put 2 people were always in line. So we could go do other shit because, but as long as there were 2 people in line, no one's going to bitch. They've been there all day.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So, okay, so let's get,
It worked the same way for when you bought the tickets, too.
So when did the whole thrashing come on your radar? Like, what was the first kind of show of that, like the club?
The club. Well, my first thrash show was a Raven show, and his band Metallica was with him.
So
I didn't really see Metallica when I wasn't quite old enough yet, but I knew some of the older guys, like some of the Vicious Rumors guys, and those guys, from Santa Rosa, that always talked about them. I had a copy of the demo,
mm-hmm.
and I started fucking trading tapes off that in 83, 84. But I was 15, and I kept getting heavier and heavier with everything, because I started out, like I said, Y&T, but I was into Sabbath, and then I got into Motorhead. I mean, the first Motorhead album I bought was No Sleep Till Hammersmith.
It's classic.
And then got into Maiden, of course, and I bought Maiden Killers. Boom, had to. Saw that Killer's album cover. Was like, oh, I'm buying this.
And when did you get the No Life to Leather demo? Like, how did you obtain it?
I obtained it through the record vault.
Okay.
We started going, me and a buddy of mine, Chris Chensvold, who I started Metallic Thrash Fantasy. The record vault was in San Francisco, and it was the ultimate underground metal shop. And they had all the band's demos in there, and and they taught me how you got Metal Forces or Kerrang. And I used to have a Pen Bangers hat in Kerrang, and I had one and Metal Forces for trading tapes.
And you gave them a list of just all the tapes you had?
No. What you do is you make a thing. This is what I'm into, and you get list 3 or 4 bands. And then you put my list gets yours. So if your list gets mine, So you get a letter from like Poland, and the guy would have all the demos he's got on them, right? And I'd say I want this, this, and this, and then you send your list back, and he would record it for you, send the tape for you, and then you record what he wanted off your list and send that back to him.
But you would dub tapes.
Oh yeah, my dub tape thing was going fucking. In 83, 84, 85, it was going fucking 24 hours a day almost.
Just in your room, right?
Yeah, just dubbing tapes, yeah.
On like a boombox or fucking...
No, I had a tape-to-tape. It was a dubber. Two cassettes and a thing.
That's high technology for 83, 84.
I guess it was. You could do it at high speed, too.
Now, did you have any stations playing this stuff?
Not in Santa Rosa.
Around that time?
Not in Santa Rosa. I don't know if you've ever heard of the journalist Don Kay.
I'm not familiar. I'm still learning every day. Dude.
Yeah, I think he writes for a few things now. He's still on Facebook and writes many movies, but he used to have a metal show up in upstate New York. I can't remember what the letters were, but if you sent him 260 blank 60s, he would send you the radio show back.
Oh, so he would tape the radio show.
Well, because it was a college radio. You have experience with this. Remember when you were on the radio show in Orange County? Mm-hmm. He had a radio show like that in upstate New York, where he was getting all the European stuff, and he was getting a lot of the New York stuff, and he would play the heaviest shit. And, of course, we had Ron Quintana, who we used to listen to Rampage Radio, too. But Don would send you two 60-minute tapes back. He'd send you his whole show, 2-hour show.
That's fucking cool, and you would discover it and kind of dub that for friends and send them off to...
Or I'd discover a band, and then I would start looking at my tape trader buddies' lists to see who had that demo to trade. I mean, some of the first demos I got that were big, like from like my East Coast and worldwide things, I got a brand new copy of the Killers 1 demo, the Reign of Terror demo. I was lucky to be in the Bay Area because I could get these original copies. Plus, I had this killer little tape box. It was like a little recorder that I would take into Ruthie's or the Stone, and I would record fucking Exodus or Possessed or whatever, and they'd be first generation. These first generation live things. I mean, now today's kids are with digital and all that, and it sounds great, but you don't know how bad after you've dubbed something 3 or 4 or 5 times, it starts to sound like shit. So if you got a first generation, man, you can get some good shit. That's how I got my Destruction and my fucking Creator stuff from Germany.
The old demos, first
generation live, not just demos, but live shit. Like when Exodus would play like at Ruthie's, and they'd still do Death Row and fucking Die by His Hand and fucking Hell's Breath. Like the only way you ever got to hear those was fucking live. There's a couple demos out that weren't that good, and they didn't record. They never recorded them. I mean, fucking Die by His Hand's got parts of Creeping Death in it. Hell's Breath's got part of Trapped Under Ice in it. Or no, Impaler's got Trapped Under Ice. I can't remember what song Hell's Breath's got on it. Anyway, it's got parts of other songs.
Of another song, yeah. So, like when you first were going to these shows, right? How did you discover Ruthie's? How did you discover?
Well, we were all in. The first thing that we got into, we started trading tapes, right? And all that. And my buddy Chris Chensvold, who he came to me because I was more of the in and out, hanging out with the metalhead guys. Like I knew the guys, Vicious Rumors and that kind of stuff. And he's like, "Dude, you want to do this fanzine thing with me? I want to start a fanzine." And we started Metallic Thrash in 1983. And our first guy we had on the issue, you could look back on the wall, it's Nasty Ronnie from Nasty Savage. And we had Exciter in there, we had Agent Steel in there, we had Griffin,
Wow.
And we would send tapes everywhere, and we'd send copies of it everywhere, and it got pretty good. And Chris Chensvold's dad was so proud that he was doing something with journalism because he was a journalist himself, that this guy would literally take us when we were like 14, 15 years old. He would drive the station wagon down to fucking Berkeley, right? And he would read a book while he sat out on San Pablo Avenue. Well, me, Chris Chensvold, and like Robbie Weiss went and saw Exodus or fucking Possessed and Hyrax. All ages show at Ruthie's. and fucking wait for us to come out. Fucking thrashing and raging in there. And you just read a book and wait for us because we couldn't drive yet.
Right, and so you would take. That's how you were able to.
That's how we were able to go to Ruthie's because Chris Chenswell's dad. My dad was never going to take us to one of these. He took us to Ted Nugent and dropped us off. I was lucky there because it was in Sonoma County in Santa Rosa. But he wasn't going to drive to Berkeley and wait fucking 3 or 4 hours. My dad would be like, "Fuck you." I mean, one of the greatest life. Now, when I turned 16, I got a Chevy Nova, 73 Nova that my dad bought for me. And the rule when he handed me the keys was keep it in city limits, son. You know, because I was 16, right? You got it, Dad. If he knew how many times I drove that thing to Ruthie's Inn, and we'd drive it sometimes to Ruthie's because we could go across the Richmond Bridge. It was like 30 miles, 35 from Santa Rosa, you know? And we'd go 3 times in a week sometimes with fucking 8 kids in the car because it was all ages. And Wes would let us drink.
That's right. They wouldn't card you at Ruthie's either.
Never got carded at Ruthie's, man.
I never. Didn't you tell me at like 15 you fucking?
Oh, yeah, 14, 15. Dude. The second issue of Metallic Thrash, there's an interview with Kirk we did in an alley outside of Ruthie's. Right after he got back from the Ride Lightning tour with Wasp and Armor Saint. And we were all bullshitting. And fucking, Andy, you did a great interview. Let me buy you a drink. I'm like, cool. And he fucking walked in and bought me a drink. You know, I'm thinking like a beer because I'm fit for, that age. And Kirk looks at the bartender and goes, the usual. And I go, what do you have? And he, I'll have what you're having. And he goes, usual. And this guy took these fucking Stoli 100 proof vodka and just went, and then fucking went, psh, psh, orange juice. I fucking drank it. Hard liquor at that point was what would make me puke,
right.
At that age. But I was Kirk Hammett. I had to fucking drink it. I managed to survive.
You fucking puked after, probably.
No, I didn't. I didn't drink peppermint schnapps that night.
Okay.
That was our other key thing, like going to the Stone and other things. We found out you could drink 100 proof De Kuyper peppermint schnapps. And it tasted like toothpaste. It wasn't like, because we hadn't acquired a taste for like bourbon or anything.
Right.
But you could drink that and it would taste like toothpaste and you could get all fucked up. And then go and thrash.
I don't know how you would fucking do that.
We did, man. We drank a whole bottle of it, like between 3 of us.
And so,
dude, we used to make a suicide mix out of my dad's liquor cabinet.
Right.
We would take a little bottle, each bottle, take a 2-liter, pour it out, and pour a lot, each of the bourbon, triple sec, whatever, and shake it up. You taste it. Oh, you taste that. If I drank that now, I'd have a hangover for a week.
I couldn't handle it.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, that's this kind of stuff we used to do. I'm an Irishman, man. I got a hardcore alcoholism runs in my family.
So, question: when you were going to, what was the first Ruthie's show that you remember actually going to?
The first Ruthie's show I remember going to was Slayer, Possessed, and fucking Exodus.
Okay, that's a fucking.
It was
heavy
like
bill,
a Friday night. I think it was 84, I think. And then I saw the Stone. I saw fucking. First time I saw it there was Griffin and fucking Exciter. And then I saw Exciter on the following tour with Megadeth. And I saw Slayer a couple times on the Haunting the Chapel tour at the Stone with Possessed.
Jesus Christ.
Well, the crazy thing that you got to remember, unlike today, the Bay Area had all these clubs, Ruthie's, the Stone, the Omni, and they were all ages.
Yeah, we don't have that anymore.
No, there's hardly any. I mean, you got the whiskey, but they treat you like dicks down there. And Malone's, like you could go to Malone's, you got to be 21 to be in Malone's.
I mean, we'll get into all that shit. Trust
Okay.
me, I have questions about that. But okay, so
you had to buy drink tickets.
It's
that
80.
sucked.
It's 84, right? Or 84,
84, 85. Yeah, we started Metallic Thrash fanzine in late 83.
That's the question. So, why did you start a fanzine instead of being a musician when like all these?
Because I can't carry a tune in a bucket.
Okay.
I can play the bass a little bit, man, but nah.
Just wasn't cut out for the band.
I'm not. I can't sing, and I can play a little bit of bass, but.
So that's how you knew you would be a journalist instead.
Well, I was into the music. I was going to help any way I could.
Okay,
and plus it was cool. It was cool. I mean, the fanzine was cool because I would hunt and peck. Fucking typing at that age, man. We used to hold bottles of white out when we put that shit together because it wasn't like we didn't do it on a computer. We did it on a fucking typewriter, man. And we cut and paste, literally cut and paste.
And when you would make copies, what would you go to like a
Kinko's or a couple times we went to my dad's office. He doesn't know about, and we used his copy machine, but we replaced it with our own paper and fucking. It was just the 11 by and you folded it over. That was always the perfect size for a fanzine.
Right, but I'm saying to make copies. Or
Oh, yeah,
that's
which
what
we do
you
that.
would have to.
Yeah.
Now, would you sell these, or would you? Just
We'd sell them for
give out?
$1.
Okay, and you would make some.
We'd make
money.
printing money sometimes or whatever, or drink ticket money, because most of the shows when you were underage, you had to pay $4 or $5 for 2 Cokes, bar Cokes at that.
Yeah.
I remember going to see Slayer. I mentioned the Hang the Chapel tour at the Stone, and it was $4 to get in, but we had to pay $6 in drink tickets to buy 2 Cokes. So it was more for me to pay for fucking 2 Pepsis or Cokes, whatever, than it was to actually see Slayer.
So it was like a $10.
It was $10, but
that was a lot back then for 83, 84.
well,
right?
it was only because I was underage. Everybody else got to see him for $4.
I'm just saying that, like, it's. I mean, I'm just
2 drink minimum. That's
yeah. It's
There's
the
a lot of
same
clubs
now.
don't do. Well, yeah, some
It's the
clubs.
same now.
Not too many clubs do it anymore, though. I haven't seen it in a while. Have you seen
Orange County? Yeah, it's.
They
kind
still
of
do the
relevant.
fucking drink tickets.
Yeah.
I don't know why they call them a drink ticket. It should be your soda ticket. Because
Yeah.
you don't get a drink, you get a fucking soda.
Or water, whichever one you
Yeah.
wanted. But,
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 83, 84. You start the fanzine, right?
Yeah.
Your first interview is Nasty Ronnie.
Nasty Ronnie and then Agent Steel.
Mhm.
We talked to John Cyrus, Mr. Spaceman. And we interviewed Griffin. Who else did we? Fuck. We did a bunch of reviews. I remember reviewing the Megadeth's demo.
Okay,
in
the
that.
Last Rites
Mm-hmm.
demo. Gotcha.
And then I remember reviewing Queensryche's The Warning, because we were all huge fans of fucking the EP. Even if you were a major thrash fan or whatever, you loved Queensryche's first EP. Everybody did. And so The Warning kind of let us down a little bit.
Really?
Compared to that EP. When you're also listening to Metallica and stuff on the outside.
I guess around that time, yeah, it would.
It's still really good progressive. I mean, it's more progressive metal, really.
Totally.
Yeah. But that Queen of the Reich, that fucking album that whole EP rules.
Yeah, I mean, the Warning fucking rules too, though.
Yeah,
whole
dude,
album
actually-
rules, dude.
Not to get out of track, I saw them
Right.
last week with Todd on the fucking motorboat. I mean, the Mega Cruise.
He's fucking.
They were
awesome,
fucking
dude.
amazing. They were like a machine, and they played they played shit off the EP, The Warning, and fucking all the fucking good fucking rockin' tracks. None of the, like, I remember seeing Queensryche in the fucking late 90s, I think it was, with fucking Typo Negative at the fucking Sharp Tank. And fucking, they had fucking like bar scenes, like it was a Broadway play, and fucking they were acting and weird shit on stage while they're doing a rock concert. And that was all Jeff Tate.
Of course it was. I remember seeing Queensryche in like the mid 2000s, and all they would ever play was Operation Mindcrime in its entirety. And look, it's one of my favorite records.
Yeah, it's a good record.
But here's the thing: when you have like a whole catalog of music,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
only playing one record, it kind of gets a little tiring.
From the early days, yeah, and especially the EP, man. That whole EP should be played every night.
I mean,
The Lady Wore Black, fucking Queen of the Reich. I mean, all the songs.
the Prophecy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all good.
All
stuff.
4 songs are great.
And then even the fifth one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fifth one or whatever.
The 5th track on Queensryche's EP? Are you
Right.
sure?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's Prophecy is what it's called or whatever, but it's a bonus track.
Okay. I think you're right.
But they only put 4 tracks on. It was like intended to be a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so you were reviewing records like this,
Mm-hmm.
like Queensryche. Going to shows, you were doing show reviews, I'm assuming too.
Oh yeah. I got in Metallica. I interviewed the Metallica Armored Saint and Death Angel at the Kabuki on the Ride the Lightning tour. Sold out shows. I reviewed that in the issue 2. I also reviewed the day I met Kate and W. DePena. It was
You
this
reviewed
band.
that?
I reviewed the show.
Oh, okay.
The show I met him at. It was March, I think, 83 or 84. I think it was 84. No, I think it was 83. No, I can't. I'm getting old. But it was Death Angel, Hyrax, and Possessed. And it was the night Hyrax had just come up to play, and fucking it was the night Possessed had signed to Combat Records. I remember Debbie being all fucking excited, Debbie Albano. And you've seen the spread I did for Possessed and the mags, right?
I'm going to probably have to look at them later.
Oh, okay. Well, we're sitting here. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and take one off the wall.
But, they're obviously these are like relics nowadays.
Well, the
'cause,
one
like,
the one that's got Cliff Burton and Paul Bailoff's autograph on it's never coming out of plastic.
yeah, I don't want. I mean, that just looking at that would be, enough. But what were some of your highlights, I guess, from the journalism days, like with the actual print days, like that?
Interviewing Paul Bailoff, interviewing Kirk Hammett. in issue number 2, but that one still got like it don't come out. I got to make copies of that soon. I wrote an article about Overkill on their strength of their demo on their first EP, having just signed for their first EP to Megaforce Records. And the article, it's not like an interview, it's an article,
Okay.
where I quoted them a couple times, but it's an article. And at the end of the article, it says, having just signed for their first EP on Megaforce Records, I'm expecting big things out of this band Overkill. So I think I called it,
I think you did too, and it wasn't the LA version. It was the
this was
the New
Overkill,
Jersey,
Megaforce. They sent me their demo.
the New Jersey version.
Mhm.
So
I'm in a band called Death Thrash and Whiplash. I got the original Whiplash demo too from Tony.
really,
Yeah, I saw Whiplash back in the day too, and then I got to go up to Slaughter by the Water and hang out with them again. So Tony's a great dad. But at one point they were Tony.
yeah. At one point they
That
were.
was on the demo. That's Tony too. This one's a copy, so. But I mean, when you look at the old Metallic Thrash, here you go, guys. When you open it up, oh look, there's an interview with fucking Paul Bailoff.
Yeah, let's show. I'll show that to the.
Wait, I wanted you to show the Possessed thing I was just talking about. This was our centerfold,
Wow.
and Seven Churches hadn't been released yet. They were still working on the Strength of Death Metal
This
demo.
is definitely 84. then.
85, early 85. Early 85.
Gotcha.
Because not only does it have that, but one of the cool things is...
Is that Iron Angel?
Yes, it's got Iron Angel, but here's one of the other cool things, is it's got Legacy,
Right.
and this is when they were at the Prairie Sun Recording Studios recording the Ranterra demo. And the three of us, it says, the Metallic Thrash crew recently had the extreme pleasure of meeting up with some of the nicest guys and coolest people in thrash today at the prestigious Prairie Sun Studios. This is an interview conducted with the band and their manager, Alexis Olsen. All Legacy.
That's
Skolnick.
awesome. That's Skolnick
He was
right
16, I was 16. We were watching them, taking a picture. And Zetro's in here talking about poking a monkey in the eye and fucking spitting on Carlos Cavazzo from Quiet Riot at the old Waldorf. Kill posers, And it's a great old interview. And the great thing about that was Zetro and all those guys' first interview.
So you interviewed Zetro first.
Oh yeah. And the great thing is, even to this day, I could still pretty much when he's around, I can get him to an interview because I just got to go, dude. I mean, I had him on KNAC when Patriot first started. He came on with me and Cabs. And to this day, the only fucking show that Patriot played in Southern California was that. I mean, I haven't played with the kids yet either, but was for me at the joint with Agent Steel, or whatever they call it, Masters of Metal.
Masters of Metal at that time? Yeah,
Yes.
So I want to know, so around 84 to, I guess, the late 80s? I mean,
I joined the Navy in 88.
Okay, so before,
That's when I
from
graduated.
84 to 87. We'll
Mhm, high
concentrate
school.
on
That's high
high
school.
school. So obviously, it was more prevalent. You were going to a lot of shows, right?
Oh, hell yeah, dude, because the shows were all ages.
Right.
I mean,
And they were all. It was also in a close vicinity, and there was a huge scene happening at that time.
oh yeah, like when you were in high school, what were the big bands? Fueled by Fire, maybe?
Well, okay, like I'm talking underground wise.
Yeah, underground.
or
Who were your local bands you were going to see?
I was going to see Fueled by Fire, Bonded by Blood, the Warbringers.
So you're
the
totally
Wi-
into
the,
thrash, right? In
The
high
Witch
school.
Havens.
Okay.
Well, there was no death metal happening at that time.
Okay,
and there
but,
was like no heavy
I understand
metal.
what you're saying.
So-
There was no death metal happening for me either at the time when I was in high school because it hadn't been invented yet.
Probably when you were a senior, it probably got invented.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Or
But
85.
but
which
you
was
like you said,
Possessed.
you were going to see Warbringer and Fueled by Fire.
And I was also
when you were in high
playing with
school.
them.
Yeah.
And obviously
When I was in high school, I was going to see fucking Violence and Testament and Death Angel and occasionally Exodus, but it was mainly fucking Violence, Death Angel, or fucking Testament played somewhere in the Bay Area every fucking weekend.
That's so
Whether
cool.
it be Centennial Hall in Hayward or fucking the Stone, San Francisco, up where we played, we had the River Theater in Guerneville, which was considered the North Side Thrash. And at one point, Brian and Harold, I was even talked about being in the movie they were doing about the North Side Thrash, but they decided to cut that part. But that place was crazy because all the thrash bands used to come up there on weekend shows, and they'd get treated like fucking kings because they would have these cabins that were attached to it, and they'd give them their own cabins and fucking, I remember fucking like 86 January, it was fucking Exodus, Legacy, and fucking Attitude Adjustment at the river. And it was one of the most brutal fucking shows. I mean, the pit was just, oh man, it was just fucking brutal.
And now, around this time too, right?
Because the only album out was Bonded by Blood. And Attitude Adjustment was working on the fucking, their demo, and fucking Legacy was working on the Ranterra demo that they just recorded.
Right, so everyone had like their
Music.
legendary demos around
Except
that
for
time.
Exodus. Exodus already had Bonded by Blood out.
Right, that was like 85.
Yeah.
Right, so
Or 86. January 86.
I think okay.
Because
Okay.
the Ranterra demo was recorded in 85.
thought it was 85. Maybe it was.
No, Bonded by Blood came out in 85.
Okay, that's
Yes,
what I'm
but I'm
referring
talking
to.
about when the show was in 86.
Gotcha.
January
gotcha,
86.
Gotcha.
Because the Legacy's Red Terror demo was out too.
So when
And that was recorded in 85.
when all this stuff happened around this specific time, unfortunately we lost Cliff, right? And obviously you had interviewed.
Oh yeah, was it
him.
86?
Yeah.
I actually, we talked to him for Metallica Astronaut, and then at Exciter, Megadeth and Stone, my uncle, the one I told you about, was a couple years old, gave me a green blood joint, right? And I was at the Stone, and then fucking here comes Walking Cliff in, and I go, dude, I hold him a joint, and he fucking goes, man, if you know anything about the Stone, the bathrooms are upstairs. So fucking, we went upstairs, and I fucking smoked a joint with Cliff Burton. Because I know he liked to smoke weed a lot. He was wearing bell bottoms when no one else was wearing bell bottoms. So,
And he was also had
the denim jacket. Oh, yeah, he was a total stoner. And I smoked a joint. I mean, I didn't think nothing of it because he was at every fucking show you went to, you know. But now when I think of it, I was like, dude, I smoked a fucking joint in a bathroom stall with fucking Cliff Burton once. That's pretty
awesome.
fucking cool.
That is really cool. I mean, you get to have that. So what kind of a letdown was that when that...
He died?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I fucking cried.
Just for the whole... But the whole,
the whole
like,
scene,
the whole
man. We
scene,
were wondering how fucking Metallica was going to continue on, you know, or what was going to happen. Unfortunately, I'd had a little bit of dealing with death. I had a friend, a lot of us in Rincon Valley, where I grew up, we had a friend named John Alasia in '84. He was messing around at his girlfriend's house and playing with her dad's replica guns, these fucking old Colt 45s and stuff. And they said just to be a because he was kind of a freaky out type of guy, you know. He put one bullet in the fucking Colt 45, spun the chamber, and he looked at it. And the police report said he thought that the chamber was going to spin this way, and it spun this way. He put it to his head, and he blew his brains out.
Holy shit.
We were like 15, 16 years. His name was John Alasia. There's a bench. You've seen pictures of me sitting at a bench and stuff like that. He is the one who got me into Merciful Fate, and you know, after I got into Venom. But he's like, oh, check out Merciful Fate, you know, and he got me into it. That was like '84. But he died before Cliff did, and so we got used to having, you know, somebody around you dying. I guess other parts of the Bay Area and some people, they hadn't had anybody die, so it fucking fucked a lot of people up.
I mean, obviously, Metallica probably became more immortalized because of that too, and
a little bit,
or more loved.
Oh yeah, they were definitely loved, but they didn't, dude. They fucking didn't take any breaks or nothing. I mean, it was like bam, 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 bam. Jason was in the band like 9 days after Cliff died. Right. Yeah, it was fucking crazy.
They were holding auditions.
Yep.
Around.
I heard they were pretty fucking cold too, man.
Yeah.
And I happen to know a few people that actually tried out for it.
So
some of them actually live here in LA too.
You probably have stories for it, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Nothing I'm gonna spout out here.
No.
Because somebody actually had the job if he'd just defeated
Well, we already talked about that.
Joey.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Joey actually had the job if he wanted to quit Armor Saying he was going to be let right in. The other guy that shot up, Mel Martinez.
Yeah.
He was really close to having the job too. But it's something about not being, I don't know.
Well, go back and watch the Steve Gaines episode to find out the exact story.
Yeah, he's got the stories better than me because
it's really riveting. It's really fucking.
Gaines has always got great stories.
Yeah, and I tend to believe Gaines.
Oh, I totally believe Gaines. He remembers everything. That's why. That's why I looked at our boss at fucking Grill Mall after he told me the story. Did you guys go by the house? And he's like, I don't remember that.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you did.
Right.
Yeah, you did. If you don't know what we're talking about, you have to look it up.
Yeah, that's right. So, okay, so it's 87.
I just got out of high school.
You just got out of high school, right? You weren't doing the fanzine.
We quit doing. We did like 8 issues. I've got the first 3 or 4 still. Some of them just disappeared. You know, and there's a couple places online you can even download.
Were they quarterly?
They were every other month, pretty much.
Every other month, okay.
Yeah, and we did it for like a year and a half. Whatever.
Okay.
And it was a lot of work. I mean, it wasn't like fucking going to zip it in a computer. I had to hunt and peck on a typewriter, cut it out, you know, and we had to transcribe these interviews fucking off tape recorders. You know, the technology wasn't like it was today. Doing a fanzine today would be fucking easy compared to, you know, not that I'm going to start doing a fanzine.
But it wouldn't be as special.
It'd be a blog.
It would, yeah. That's what we're doing now with the fucking
That's
podcast.
what this was. It was a blog, you know.
That's what this is. That's
and
what podcasting
tape trading
is.
was the internet, you know. Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. But they were cool. I got the idea fucking basically from Ron Quintana too. You know, we used to read and absolutely worship Metal Mania because he always got all the cool shit, and he would have Biederman in there.
But he would also be playing. He also had a station too.
Well, he was on KUSF, the radio station at University of San Francisco, And for some reason in the North Bay, even though it was a great week, we get it great. And he would be on every Saturday night. His show would start at 2 o'clock in the morning and end at 6 in the morning.
So it'd be 4 hours of just whatever the fuck you wanted to play.
And he played some of the heaviest shit. He'd always play a lot of the good new wave British heavy metal. He'd always play the early demos. The first place that you heard that Legacy changed their name to Testament was on his show, that kind of shit.
And so it's kind of like what Manic Metal was for L.A., right? I mean, that's what KNAC did for L.A.
Yeah,
but
KSO was more underground.
Well, I know, but KNAC was more mainstream.
Well, yeah, the Manic Metal show, which the original guy, I don't know if somebody
Gonzo Greg was doing it
before Mosh and John, right?
Long Paul was doing it, and
Long Paul's the reason. We'll get to that.
Right. But I'm saying like all these DJs at KNAC, it was kind of like the same what Ron was doing for the Bay Area.
Yeah, except Ron was a little more connected, I think.
Well,
and it was a little bit before the times. These guys were still, they had half their fucking leg in the glam scene.
Well, true, but they were trying to appeal to like a
bigger, exactly.
I mean,
Ron didn't care.
Right.
Ron was all about fucking. You met him.
When you're more underground, obviously that's what you cater to. I'm just saying, like it was relatively the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. You got to meet him up when we were up.
That's right. I got to interview him.
And he's got some great stories, man.
But so you guys would obviously listen to him.
Oh yeah.
Probably tape his shows. Probably send them, do more tape trading.
No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't tape his shows because I know Ron usually got most of the stuff from the vault. If I wanted something, I'd go down to the vault.
Okay.
That was a once a month pilgrimage for us. Sometimes twice a month. It was 30 miles, 40 miles. Had to go across the Golden Gate to get to the vault. But it used to be on Polk Street in San Francisco. And dude, I've been to Dark Realm. I've been to fucking all kinds of crazy record stores around the world. The vault was still my favorite ever. I mean, they would have all the demos, all the demos.
How much were these demos? Like $1 a piece, or they like
$5?
Okay, it's
$5. $5 is pretty much a standard price for a 4-song demo.
Back in
4 or 5 songs,
mid '80s.
Yep.
And so,
but that came with it. I mean, it came with a card in it, like a fucking real release, I remember fucking one of the greatest things ever. Sacrilege BC's original Party with God demo. They didn't take the time to get really nice cassettes, and they went out and bought Walmart. I mean, not Walmart. They were Kmart fucking cassettes that you could buy in these plastic bags for real cheap. You get like 6 of them in a bag. But that's how you know you have one of the original Sacrilege BC fucking demos, because it's on a Kmart fucking tape.
It's fucking awesome. I'm assuming you have.
It's in a box at Dad's house somewhere. If you didn't toss it. Yeah, we get into that too when we get to the Navy part. I still get a steak dinner whenever I bring that shit up.
So it's 87.
Join the Navy.
You joined the Navy for what reason? Just to...
I was going to be a Navy SEAL. I thought I was going to be a badass. And I was in great shape. I was playing baseball and all that stuff. And no one else had been... I didn't really feel like going back to school. Going to college. I was fucking dumb at school. I was already a pretty big drinker in high school, being Irish, partying trash. And I was like, let's just take it on. And the Navy really taught me how to drink. But I tried out for the SEALs, and I failed.
In what aspect?
I wasn't strong and I wasn't endured. I went through their BUDS, basic underwater demolition in Coronado in San Diego. And the only way you can either get medically dropped out of it or you got to quit on your own. And I quit on my own. The night we quit, I'd been in the fucking water at Coronado Beach. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. Had waves coming down. We were in our skivvies, our tidy whities. That's it. Just standing there in the water, waves coming down, watching the instructors around the bonfire making s'mores, going, "How you doing out there, ladies?" Just getting colder and colder. And finally, it went through our head that we were going to get hypothermia. And I think 9 of us quit the night I quit. And even 2 days later, after I got out of that water and had showers and everything, every once in a while I'd get the shivers. That's how cold it was. Yeah, but that teaches you how to be dude. When they say the SEALs are the elite of the elite, they're the baddest motherfuckers there are. If a SEAL's coming after your ass, you might as well just, you know what I mean?
Lie down and take it.
If you're in a military situation, yes. Sea, air, land. That's what that stands for.
And so, what is that? 88.
I actually 87. It was late 87.
That you quit?
No, that I quit SEALs. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I thought I was going to end up in Norfolk, Virginia, which is the largest naval base where there's lots of sailors there. And the slang for that in the Navy was "no fuck vagina," because there's so many male sailors there that a woman wouldn't come anywhere near that place. So they called it no. And somehow I ended up in San Diego on the USS Truxtun, which was a nuclear ship. I later found out and no one wanted it because it was haze gray and underway. And I did 2 West Packs, the Desert Storm, and a North Pack on the Truxton. And then I did Desert Storm on another Nuke Cruiser in Alameda, the USS Texas. So I was always out to sea because we didn't take fuel. Nuke Cruisers ran on a reactor, so you didn't have to gas them up so they could go everywhere. Gas them up like every 10 years. And nuclear Navy was not cool. I got to spend a lot of time looking at horizons, which amazes me why I went on a fucking cruise last week.
And were you kind of experiencing actual I don't know,
warfare?
Yeah, warfare.
Only the closest I came to any combat or anything like that wasn't even with Iraq during Desert Storm. It was in 1988. We were escorting Kuwaiti tankers in and out of the Straits of Hormuz. Yeah, just kind of like we do now. And the Iranians were shooting fucking Silkworm missiles at tankers and shit and fucking blowing them because they were saying it was their territorial waters. And we were escorting them in and out. And the Samuel B. Roberts, their little frigate, hit a mine because they were mining it too. And a couple sailors died, and they repaired it. And then Reagan went in and told us to fucking go up in the Gulf. Our ship, the Wainwright, a couple other ships, and air support from the USS Enterprise, and go blow up all Iran's fucking oil platforms in the Gulf, the big oil platforms they had drilling. So we fucking told these guys, you got 5 minutes to get off. And you see these fucking Iranians coming off, and we fucking blew them up. So, and then they got ballsy, and they took the 3 frigates that we sold the Shah before they had the overthrow, these old Navy crafts, and sent them after us like they were going to take us out. And we sunk all 3 of those. But they did manage to get 2 Silkworms off. And I remember watching a Silkworm missile go right in between our fucking masts on the Truxton with the chaff. And it still blended and it didn't come anywhere. But when you see a missile go overhead, they just come for a ship when you're in the water, you get a little scared. that was a little scared. That's the scariest I've ever been. Because during Iraq, we were fucking way out of the Gulf and we weren't shooting tomahawks 1,000 miles away.
That's scary.
Well, and you can look it up. It was called Operation Praying Mantis. It's considered one of the last great naval battles at sea because no one really has navies anymore other than us and like Russia and a couple, and there haven't been these big like battles, where they're shooting ship to ship. The last one was Operation Praying Mantis. I was a part of it in 1988.
And obviously,
and
after this,
I went to the USS Texas and was part of Desert Storm.
So you lasted in the military 3 or 4 years?
No, I did 6 active, and then I did another freaking 2 years active after that. After I got out and got back in for 2 years, so I ended up doing 8 active reserve, 8, and then I did 12 in the reserves in the 90s as a weekend warrior.
Okay, so you did 12.
I did 20 years altogether.
20 years altogether.
That's why I get a check every month. But like I said, I did 8 active, as you know. But then I played weekend warrior. 1 weekend a month, I went to the Armory in Santa Rosa and hung out. And 1 week a year, I went out to the base. I did that for 8 years.
And you were still going to shows around that
time?
Oh,
hell yeah,
like
dude. Partying, doing crazy.
San Diego. Were you in San Diego?
I went to shows in San Diego. Here's the great thing that I consider myself really, really lucky. I grew up in the Bay Area thrash scene, right? And then I went through boot camp San Diego. We used to go down to Iguanas in TJ and see shows down there. And then I moved to Bremerton, Washington, which is right across the sound from Seattle, in 88, 89, and 90.
Okay, so you got to see
grunge start. But I wasn't going to tell you what, when I first got up there, I wasn't paying any attention to it. I was too busy going to see The Accused and Forced Entry and Poison Idea. The first time I saw Nirvana play was on the Bleach Tour at the Squid Row Tavern in the U District, and they look like a bunch of lumberjacks. Everybody. Hair down his ass, big old fucking
now
flannels on.
How different was
they were heavy.
Was that scene compared to
It wasn't really that different.
So they were still
stage diving and they didn't mosh as much, but dude, the fucking grunge scene up there, they fucking loved the stage dive, man. They would fucking come at you. You had to pay attention. And we would go see Tad. We would go see Mudhoney. I love early Mudhoney, like Touch Me, I'm Sick, and shit like that.
Melvins.
Melvins sometimes it got a little slow for me. We're slow and heavy, but it was cool.
I'm just saying
there was another band called Seaweed from Tacoma that was during the grunge thing. It was really big. And Tad, I really liked Tad a lot. Tad was heavy. Dick, but we were still going, like I said, my favorite band up there was fucking The Accused and fucking Forced Entry.
I guess, let me go back real quick. So in San Francisco, right, during the obviously the thrashing.
The heyday?
Did you know anything about LA at that time? Like,
Oh yeah, my grandparents lived in Stanton.
okay,
I've been coming down to LA since I was 7 years old, since I can remember.
and so you knew kind of the climate that was happening here.
Oh yeah, I knew totally
not
about.
just the glam. I'm talking like
I knew
even
about
the,
fucking. I knew Hyrax
and Dark Angels
Dark Angel, and fucking the Country Club. I've been to Fenders. I've seen 2 shows at Fenders, and both times I went to shows there. I went to thrash shows at Fenders, and St. Vitus ended up on the bill. That's why I hate fucking doom metal. It's true.
Yet he loves sixes, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, that's because they're really close friends and they're pretty heavy. But fucking St. Vitus, man, they used to. But Sixes doesn't try to play with thrash bands.
It's true.
That for some reason they must have known somebody back then because we'd come down with like Forbidden or fucking Violence or something like that to Fenders, and they'd have like Hyrax or Dark Angel, and then smack dab in the middle is fucking St. Vitus, man. It would take this shit that was raging and just bring it down. It's fucking boring. We were ready to fucking kill people, and they were like smoking weed and playing slow.
Yeah, that was not the climate back then. So
well, I mean, it's the climate. Some of it's now. People like doom metal, and if you like it, hey, I'm not knocking you. It bores me.
It bores me too. That's why I don't listen to doom metal.
I don't listen to a lot of it. I like Cathedral though.
Let's go forward real quick.
Okay.
It's 1990.
I like this.
1998, 1999, the late 90s for you.
Uh-huh.
And you get married?
Oh, no, I didn't get married until the early 2000s.
Okay, so even still, it's
I
around
was
that time.
I actually was working for Home Depot and working with booking bands at a place called Magnolias in Santa Rosa in the 90s after I got out of the Navy.
So you were a booking agent, you were a promoter even back then.
Oh yeah.
Why did you get into the promoting?
Because it was just fun. I'm a metalhead, and I like fucking throwing shows. And there wasn't people doing it that knew the good bands. You know, we had a guy named Scott. He would book blues bands and shit like that. And I had all my close friends were fucking metalheads. You know, you met Dollar Bill.
Mm-hmm.
You know those guys, especially after I got out of the Navy. Lance from Schizo. You know, all those guys. And a band called Intense. Those guys. I was in the garage and they formed. They were pretty big at one point. But we had a place called Magnolias that was right close to where Dollar Bill and his guitar player. It was called the House of Indulgence, Throw Band Indulgence, and we could crawl there. And so I'd start booking like off nights, whatever, you know. And he always used to say about Dollar Bill's band, he could have a fucking sold out blues crowd and a fucking quarter full fucking Indulgence crowd. And he'd rather have the quarter full Indulgence crowds because they drank more beer than a full blues crowd, you know. He said the maniac metalheads would always drink more beer, so he'd always book. You know, it was fun, and I learned a little bit about booking and stuff like that
from him.
From Scott, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. That's something I always wanted to know, is how you got into booking fucking shows.
Well, and then, you know, you start spending enough fucking time around it, too. You figure out how things work, too. You know, and then we also, for Indulgence, there was a place called the Phoenix Theater in Petaluma, which is the next town over from Santa Rosa, and it's been around forever. Everybody from Slayer, Metallica, back to Harry Houdini has played at the Phoenix Theater, right? And Tom Gaffney, if you had a solid plan, he was like the guy that ran it. He still runs it to this day. If you had a solid plan and came to him with a solid plan, he would let you book a show, and he would help you run everything and teach you everything. And we got into doing some big shows, and Bill's band Indulgence, and I brought Blind Illusion back to play with some friends in a band called Existence. After Biederman had been out of the scene for a while, this was in the mid '90s, and they got up and played Death Noise with Biederman, and oh my god, I can't believe you did that. But Biederman was at this point, he was playing with like fucking
Blue Oyster Cult,
a little bit, but he was also with the chick from that was married to the Anne Heche, the rocker chick. What was her name?
Nancy Wilson?
No. The gay. God damn it, Anne Heche was married to her. I can't remember. Melissa Etheridge. That was it.
Oh, okay.
Biederman was doing like studio work for her and shit at one point.
That's when she was big.
Yeah, I know, but he was doing studio work for the, you know, and he had some really, because, you know, they were always considered hippie thrash because all those guys in Blind Illusion were big deadheads too, right? And he was getting real. I mean, he had a song on one demo, I think in '95, called "The Land of the Freaks and the Home of the Crazed." You know, that kind of shit. But I got him to come back and play, and we do shows at the Phoenix. And I brought some of the early Machine Head shows there, and there was a show where Machine Head, fucking right after Burn My Eyes came out, and Adam Duce slipped off the drum riser, cracked his skull, right? And they had to bring an ambulance and everything. And Rob told them all, "Hey, don't worry, kids, we'll come back and do a $5 show soon." And I was up there about a year ago, and Ex Mortis happened to be playing the Phoenix Well, I was up there. I was like, so fuck, I had to go see that picture I showed you with Tom earlier. Ex Mortis was playing. So I walk out back and I'm like, fuck you guys. What are you guys doing here? You guys know I used to sneak kegs downstairs while shows are going on here. And he's like, whoa. Anyway, Tom goes, hey, Andy, remember that Machine Head show you booked back in like 94? This was like I'm talking like maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, I remember it. He goes, do you remember when Adam had said, they still owe us a fucking show? I know you see Rob every once in a while. Will you tell him he still owes us a show?
And when
I didn't tell Rob that, but I only saw Rob once in the last like year. Some at the Violent Show. But I was like, holy shit, Tom, you remember that? He's like, come on, man. I've had Slayer play. He's had Slayer play there. He's had fucking Metallica. Dude, the rehearsing with Metallica, the first 2 shows on the fucking Black Album tour are done at the Phoenix Theater.
Did you ever go see Spastic Children?
Oh, yeah. I've seen Spastic Children a few times, man.
Basically, what
sucked.
was it?
They sucked. Well, they play their own fucking songs like I Like Farts. And it was basically just them screwing around. And James played drums. He had a fucking cymbal and a fucking hubcap. And Kirk would play fucking bass sometimes, or fucking Cliff would play bass. Or Fred Cotton, who went on to be in Piranha with Bailoff, he would play guitar. And they would just write all these fucking crazy fucking stupid songs and fucking just trash shit. And they just play these funny songs and then watch all these fucking kids that sit there, play some Metallica. And they would just laugh at them. And it was just fun and drinking. You know, Jim Martin was in it too.
Okay, so they wouldn't actually fucking play.
No, they didn't play any of their band stuff. They played their own songs like I Like Farts, Fuck You. You know, they play with the Mentors a lot, dude. That should tell you something.
Right? That's why I'm wondering all this stuff.
Yeah, they never played any of their band stuff. No, they would have these kids play some Metallica, all this shit, screaming at them, and they would just sit there and laugh. I guess when you get, you got to use some for fun.
Yeah, I get it.
Put it this way. Spastic Children, if you were really going to... There's a reason why there are no albums. They weren't really that good. I think they intentionally tried to be bad.
And...
I saw them play Ruthies once, and I saw them play the Omni.
So it's 99 to 2000, whatever you're booking shows.
I was working at booking shows, and I got a really good job at Home Depot. I was a inventory management associate, so I was ordering all the shit to go into Home Depot and all that stuff. And I was living up in the North Bay and all that. And my grandmother, on my mother's side, had ovarian cancer. And my mother needed help taking care of her in Phoenix, Arizona. So, because I had a job with Home Depot, they transferred me from one store to another, to a store within a mile. And I helped my mother for 2 years, take care of my grandmother, doing all the yard work, all that kind of stuff, until she passed away. Because she passed away in 2002, I think, maybe 2003. But at the time I was out there, I met this lady who worked for a general engineering company that came by in Arizona a lot. Her name was Jessica, and we hit it off, and we started dating, and next thing you know, we're married. I got married in 2003, and I ended up in San Diego, running the bulldozer until 2007 with her grandfather's company, and going to metal shows, and going to Blue Meanie Records. I heard, who was it? You were at the swap meet, and fucking Sean brought it up, Blue Meanie Records. Mm-hmm. I used to go buy all my metal at Blue Meanie Records when I was in San Diego.
And were you aware that like a thrashing was like
bubbling under?
I
got aware of it in 2004, 2005, by a buddy that I actually worked with. His name was Frank. I can't remember Frank's last name, but he was a great checker. And he comes and goes, dude, you got to go watch this band Toxic Holocaust with me at this coffee shop downtown San Diego. And this was like 2004, I think.
Coffee shop. So were there chairs there or anything?
There was a couple chairs, but they had a space and a little stage, and they served beer and coffee. But it was when he was a 3-piece with a chick on bass, and it was Josh, and I can't remember who the drummer was. That was the 3 of them.
Oh, you mean Joel?
Joel Grind. I'm sorry, not Josh. I'm getting old too, man. Joel Grind. But it was like 2004. I can't remember the exact date. But I remember fucking, all right, I'll go with you, man. What the fuck? And we get there, and I'm fucking absolutely fucking floored, because every kid in the fucking coffee shop looks like I looked like in 1983, 84.
And obviously, around that time, were there any other bands on the bill, or
I can't remember. No, there were a couple other bands on the bill, but they weren't bands I can remember. They were San Diego bands that never really mattered. But Toxic was the headline.
And they were the only band pretty much doing that style.
Well, no, I found out later about fucking Municipal Waste.
Well, I'm just saying that played that night or whatever.
No, all the bands playing kind of thrashy.
Okay, okay.
But all the kids in this coffee shop all had fucking hats flipped up. They looked like, literally, like I looked like in 84. This was 2004. 20 years later, they looked like they could have fit in at Ruthie's.
Did it surprise you?
It fucking shocked the hell out of me, dude. Because, I mean, I expected maybe some metal, like Maiden and Pre, but I never expected thrash to come back around. You know, they say everything goes in 20-year cycle. I never expected thrash to come back around.
Why was that? Just because
metalheads are always
too heavy or something?
No. Metalheads are always trying to go for the more extreme. That's you know what I mean? Oh, I don't hear it. I still hear it today with like reviewers and stuff like that. Being a radio guy, I don't hear anything new. You know, I don't hear anything pushing boundaries. You know, and if you're coming back doing thrash again, you're not really pushing boundaries, dude. I mean, I love it.
Well, did you think that like maybe people?
I heard, but then again, as I started getting into some, especially like 2000 Municipal Waste, you know, all those records started coming out, Bond by Blood. You know, I did recognize a lot of the riffs, though.
Well, it's true. I was just merely saying, I think the reason for that whole movement again was because people were sick and tired of fucking new metal and metalcore bullshit.
I agree.
To where it didn't appeal to us. Like,
yeah, it's great. I'm glad it came back, dude.
It wasn't what metal
made me happy, dude. I have fucking bands that I absolutely love from that era now. I'm a huge Warbringer fan. You know that. I fucking love the Municipal Waste guys. I fucking known Ryan for a long time. Bonded by Blood, some of their earlier stuff. Havoc. I like Havoc.
Well, I was merely just saying that, like, they were still pushing boundaries in that specific genre.
Yeah,
so
they're tight.
It's like,
but compared to like fucking,
I think things just got way too heavy, and we needed to like kind of like dial it down and go back to like our roots. And I really think like that's why the whole like L.A. or Southern California chose thrash.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Like we wanted to be. It's like what grunge was. Like everything just got too over the top, and then we had to kind of like
highly polished and fucking processed.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, thrasher's like kind of like.
I think it's great, man. Because then, you know, I ended up getting divorced from my wife. Because this is like a year after this.
So it's okay. So it's around the time you weren't happy in what you were doing.
Yeah, and I ended up back in Arizona after we sold the house and everything. And I hated it out there. It's too fucking hot. Right?
Why were you in Arizona?
That's where my mother and my sister live.
Okay, I didn't know.
I went to go stay with my mom after we sold our house, and I had to get out of San Diego because that was her town. That's where she grew up. It's all her in-laws. I didn't want to stay there. I'm from NorCal, not SoCal. So I headed out to Arizona, back to where I had previously been, taking care of my grandmother until she passed away. Went out there with my mom and ran into Long Paul.
And how did that whole conversation
KUPD or you know, and he's like, I'm like, damn it, I don't want to fucking run bulldozers anymore. I want to do something I'm passionate about. I fucking metal. I want to get back into metal because I saw this band fucking Toxic Holocaust the other night. Fucking blew me away, you know.
You said
something hit me, and it's like, I want to get back into metal and shit.
Did you think something was happening though after?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I thought metal's coming back maybe a little bit. And Long Paul's like, hey, if you want to fucking go to KNAC.com, I'll let you ship cabs and that kind of shit. And sure. So I fucking came out here. I went to Southwest College out here, too, to get my chemical defense counselor's degree. That was in 2010, 2011. It's not a certificate. It's a certificate, not a degree. And worked with Andre at the Joint and her Starving Musicians program. I did that from when I was going to college. And I got on KNAC.com. And for the first 2 years I lived in L.A., I wore that stupid black leather hat. Remember that black leather hat I used to wear?
Right. The derby.
And there was a method to that madness. Everybody fucking remembers it, and everybody knew who I was within 2 years of wearing that hat everywhere.
It's true. But I was curious as to...
of course, I worked at... One of my first jobs, too, was working the door at the Boulevard.
Like, I was just curious as to, like, your KNAC or whatever. It's just like...
Long Paul. He owns KNAC.com.
Like, I guess when did it... When you were...
2011.
Okay, so 2011.
I moved out here in 2010 to come to go to school, but I was still. Long Paul was out working at KUPD, Big Red Radio in fucking Chandler, and that's where he's still at. One of the biggest rock stations in the fucking country. And I chance meeting at some fucking show, and he's like, "Let's go be an intern or fucking fuck around at KNAC.com."
So you did an intern. What was kind of your first job?
With Jimmy Cabs.
Oh, that was your first?
To help Cabs out with his fucking Manic Metal show because he wasn't sure Cabs knew what he was fucking doing. And back in those days, I got pretty much all the guests from the fanzine days. I still had connections from back in the fanzine from previous, you know.
Right.
From 15, 20 years before. Still, I knew how to do it. I knew how to approach people.
You were also, we neglected to mention this too, you were also like heavily involved in Machine Head days too.
Oh yeah,
so
fuck yeah.
You probably had connections
Well, that was through them, and then I met the Machine Head guys, Chris Contos, from Attitude Adjustment, and I'd help him with his drums occasionally.
Well, I'm just saying you probably had more connections, obviously, through that as well.
Well, yeah, just the Bay Area. I mean, all my Bay Area stuff. Even.
Well, I'm just saying it probably went outside of the Bay Area too.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. People coming through. Well, we'd have bands tour when I was booking, and I would have people stay. Here's a great story for you. This is awesome. Mid '90s, I would sometimes I'd book like 3 different places in Santa Rosa, and there's a guy, the promoter down here. Used to be, his name was Eddie Numskull. Maybe heard of him, Tanner?
Never.
I think he's here from Ventura or he's from LA, and he called me up. And he's like, "Dude, I had a band canceled. Can you get me something tomorrow night?" And I'm like, "I'll try." And I fucking tried all my spots, Magnolias, at the Phoenix Theater, and I fucking couldn't get. Eddie, I'm sorry, man. You have to send him in another direction because everything's booked, right? But I tried. I mean, I spent a whole day trying to do this, right? And that was like on a Thursday. That Sunday night, I'm in bed with my girlfriend at the time. And a lot of times when we had touring bands come through, they would stay at my house, do laundry. We'd send them on their way. Fucking, we had a couple extra couches. You could stay here and save some money. And my girlfriend goes, "Hey," we were watching 120 Minutes. She goes, "Hey, there's that No Doubt band you were trying to book." The band that Eddie was trying to get me to fill in was No Doubt.
Nobody would book No Doubt at that time?
Well, they weren't known, dude. Everything was already booked. They had a show canceled. I was trying to book a thing like within 2 or 3 days. Time of a show, you know what I mean? And they were all booked already. They were going to cancel their shows because No Doubt wasn't really known yet. Tragic Kingdom hadn't come out yet.
True.
It came out like 2 months later. But I remember I'm like, that's that chick in that band? Holy, I would have had her staying here. My fucking girlfriend started throwing pillows at me. But yeah, that's honestly gonna try to book. No
Can you
Doubt.
believe she's 50 now?
I'm 50, so yeah, I can believe it.
Okay, well I can't. That means she was making hits in like her 40s.
That means she got out of high school same time I did.
Yeah, pretty much so.
Same time as all the guys
from Orange County. But
yeah, same time that all the guys in Sublime got out too.
So let me ask you this. So you get a job as an intern at KNAC, right? When was
helping
the
with
time?
Mac Metal.
Yeah, when was the time where you were a co-host on it? Like how did that whole thing?
Jimmy Cavs had some manic plan, and he liked the fact that I knew my shit when I talked about metal, and I did. I like to think I knew
But
my
you
shit.
had no previous radio experience.
No. I actually had been on a radio show in the early '90s called Metal Shop with Calvin Liu at 101.7 The Fox every Sunday night for 2 hours. We do a local metal show on an FM station.
In the
Calvin
Bay
Liu is in the Bay Area, yes, North Bay, yes.
How did that whole thing come about?
Oh, Calvin Liu was a good friend of mine. Lou Brown. He came to visit me in the hospital. I was up there. He was his name was Lou Brown, but on the air he was Calvin Liu, Calvin Hobbs, and he was a big time DJ at like 101.7 The Fox was like our KOS.
Okay.
And we did a metal show on Sunday nights because we were friends.
So
and,
you had some
and he wanted
experience.
credibility to his metal show because he was real good with hard rock and stuff like that. But we played underground shit on like Machine Head before Burn My Eyes came out and shit like that on our Sunday night show called Metal Shop. Not a very original name, but it was an FM station. We'd expect.
And that was what, for like 2 or 3 hours?
It was 2 hours every Sunday night.
Okay.
And we play schizo. We play underground shit though too from the '90s. We play schizo, especially Sonoma County. Schizo, Indulgence, Dollar Bills Band. There's a band up there called Ice. There's a band called Intense. And then we'd play the other Bay Area stuff too. Shit like.
And so you did have.
That was when we were also doing the second fanzine that I did in the early '90s. It was called Suburban Underground. I started out with Dollar Bill from Indulgence, Hellbender now.
Right. So you did have my point being you did have experience.
Yeah, a little bit, but yeah,
for actual radio.
Being exactly what I was on the Manic Metal Show, which was a co-host.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing any of the controls. I was just talking to a mic, and that's what I did at KNC too.
That's what you do here.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but if I had to, I could run the equipment.
Well, no, that's not my point. My point in all this is like you did have. I didn't know you had previous experience for radio even in the 90s.
Oh yeah. That lasted about a year and a half.
And so you get you're interning. He asks you to be his co-host. Is that how that whole?
Actually, he just asked me to come hang out. A lot. And I hang out, and just somehow he just thought I was funny. started calling me Andy, does he ever shut the fuck up Ford? You know, like
Right,
shit.
and you were living on Skid Row during this time.
I was living in a nice apartment. It was Skid Row, but I wasn't like living in a tent down there.
No. But you know what I mean.
That was a brand new building down there, yes, but
Right.
I was living in that part of town.
In that part of
City
town.
City West.
Right. So where did KNAC actually broadcast from?
Right across the street from Paramount Studios on Santa Monica in Hollywood. It was a beautiful fucking studio. I mean, you got the Paramount gates and everything right across the street. And the studio for KNAC.com was my room. The entire fucking studio was my room. That was it.
It's pretty good.
It was actually that small, and we had the desk and everything. And this is what I found out from being there. They got it donated after KNAC 105.5. When I was there, they get the lease donated for 15 years. And if you'll know, about 2 or 3 years ago, the lease ran out. That's why Will does his show from home now, and Cabs is no longer on the air or any of that. Because when the lease ran out that was donated, that fucking little studio space across from Paramount Studios went for $8,000 a month.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, they weren't making that with KNAC.com.
Well, I was always curious as to...
That's some of the most prime real estate in Hollywood.
Yeah, I was always curious as to how they actually could afford
It was donated.
That, so
It was donated for 15 years.
And then the lease
And what you guys don't know is KNAC.com was one of the very first hard rock metal internet radio stations there was.
Correct.
Mhm.
It's one of the oldest.
Yes, well, your first, oldest, whatever you call it.
Well, I'm just saying now, that's what I know. It's one of the oldest internet
So I like to say, as far as me being a radio host and all that, I started where it started on the internet. You know what I mean? For metal and hard rock, I was at KNAC.com.
And so because you were immersed in L.A.,
yes,
in that time during the KNAC days, was that how most of these like new wave thrash bands got on your radar? Like,
oh yeah,
the Fueled by Fires and Bondage and
I knew Warbringer because I'd met John at the Burning Star Metal Fest. I saw Warbringer play with Exodus, Vicious Rumors, Hellstar. I think this was 2006 or 2007, and John wasn't even old enough to get a club yet. They had their demo out. Warbringer did, and he was a good kid, man. I fucking love John. Good friend.
Yeah, me
I
too.
consider him
He's
a close friend. He always takes my calls whenever I want him. And he always comes on whenever I want him. So
and he obviously everyone knows my history with him.
yeah,
so
exactly. Both, yeah.
he's good.
But I met him before he could even drink.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you would invite obviously the new bands. That's what I like. That's what appealed to me about.
Oh yeah, I've had Ex Mortis on my show more times than I can count.
Right, but
Majost.
Well, let me kiss your ass real quick because during that time, you would have like some of your I won't mention them, but some of your distinguished colleagues, they wouldn't have certain bands on, right? So, but you would, and I was always like really thankful to see like, you would have, I don't know, Cerebrus or like Insentient. You would have like, and even Angie on, Rattlehead. You would have Grave Hills, like you would have these guys on, and it was just like a really breath of fresh air because nobody really gave.
That was actually after I went to the Razor, though.
Right. That's what I'm saying, though. Yeah. So it's like,
which was a no-brainer for me to begin with to leave KNAC.
Well, I mean, we'll definitely get to all that stuff, how and why you left KNAC, if you don't mind. But I was just I wanted to throw it out there as a thank you.
Oh, yeah, cool.
To us bands that didn't have a platform, and you kind of did that for a lot of us bands during those times. So
if you're good, I'll play you. I've always said that.
KNAC or whatever, it was. I mean, obviously, it wasn't your
show.
It wasn't.
I didn't
get
to pick playlists. I maybe could pick a song or something.
But you would pick the guests.
I got to book a lot of the guests. Yes.
I know that. I know you had all the connections for the guests. So
War Beast, Agnostic Front, that kind of shit.
So Manic Metal kind of.
It was fun though. We had a lot of fun when I was on that show, dude.
Lost Johnny, you would have on.
Good dude. Fucking Cabs. He could be an asshole, but he's actually a pretty good guy down the heart.
Yeah, I mean,
He's just an elitist.
I have no beef with him.
He's just the very definition of elitist.
But you would. So what was the point of
doing it?
I have to, kind of leave, and I want to do my own thing after Manic Metal. Like, why did you start Razor?
Actually, it has to go back with me getting my degree in chemical dependency counseling. I had to get an elective where I had to go out and help a nonprofit to get my certificate. And believe it or not, the nonprofit I went to help was the Starving Musicians program that Andrea used to run.
Now,
And this is
how did you find this?
Through Esther, actually. Through my father's manager. And because I was still already booking shows with Hate War. I was working the door for him, and I was working the door at the Boulevard. And Andrea's doing the Starving Musicians thing with a lot of local bands. She's even thinking about opening a club. I'm like, really? So, this is before she even bought the joint or anything, And I became her, like, wrangle the kids up, sergeant and arm man, because I had chemical dependency counseling, I was going to school for it. And I became like her right-hand man at the Starving Musicians program. And so somehow she ended up with a internet radio thing where she had like 7 internet radio stations. And she's like, Andy, you're at KNAC. Why don't you come over and run this for me and I'll actually pay you? And I wasn't making shit. We were interns, all of us at KNAC Metal. Intern. We didn't make shit. No money. I'm like, oh, wait, I could do this here, or I could go make money doing the same thing. Okay. And I signed up booking at the joint and all that, and working the door there. It just became, it was a no-brainer to leave.
And you would set up the music from your house, but you would broadcast live from the joint as like a central place for like the bands to meet and stuff. And
and we would do interviews up in the fucking
I remember we would fucking go up the ladder. Like all of us would go up a fucking ladder to be interviewed. It was
it was in the sound booth where they did the sound for the club.
I wish somebody got footage of that fucking ladder.
I've got not the ladder, but I've got there's footage of me talking to Doyle up there.
But you would. My point is, you would literally have to climb up.
Yeah, it was
fucking.
Yeah. It was like a treehouse.
And what was the first show at the joint that you remember booking?
Oh, it was a black metal show. It was from Obeisance from fucking El Paso, Texas, with the Hate War. And then I did a lot of the my first stuff that I did there on my own was a lot of the Starving Musician band, those guys' bands, like fucking Cynical.
I feel like I'm always like an honorary member of that.
I brought Madrost in there.
Even though
one of the best shows I think I did it. That I brought fucking Potential Threat down from up from
awesome.
the Bay Area with Anger's Art, and you guys, that was a fucking kick-ass fucking metal show.
Dude, that was I mean, I don't like to speak highly of us or anything like that, but I felt we fucking raged.
That was a good night. It was a really good night. That was
so.
when fucking Swiss Man still had fucking old school metal records going, and both bands were on that. Yeah, it was a fun night.
Yeah, I didn't get to meet him until this year, but
he came out to our show. Yeah, Mr. Raiderman.
He did. But point being, so that was kind of the black metal show was kind of your first kind of taste back into.
Oh yeah, and then we branched out with Brain, and I was working the door for these guys. You know what I mean? I started working the door at the Boulevard. The next thing I was working the door with Hate War because I'd known him for a long time through tape trading, and then fucking Brain I met working at the Boulevard, and when he started Morbid Reality, he had me work the door for him too. So we were fucking. Dude, at the Black Castle, I became known as the conductor, like the crane conductor, because I did some fucking highly illegal stuff. I'm glad no one got hurt. Because I remember Midnight, Toxic Holocaust, and Anti-Sec played there. I think it was 2013, maybe 2013. I can't remember the exact date.
That was like one of the last times they probably had a show at the Black Castle.
No. There were a couple years after that still did. But this was where I set the record for crying people in that place. And Josh always told me, the engineer, as he calls himself, or whatever, that 350 to 400 was a sellout. I crammed 741 paid
Holy shit.
into the door that night. And that doesn't include the bands and their guests. 741 paid.
Wow.
And I remember telling these kids, hey, look, it's fucking hot in there and it's fucking sold out. Well, we're going to go anyway. Give me your money. But if you complain, I'm kicking you out and keeping your money. So keep shoving them in. I remember Cavs was sitting at the door with me one point. He goes, I'm going to go in and check it out. He took one, you know how the castle, he walked in and then walked back. I'm like, what? He turned around and both his glasses were fogged over. And it was like, dude. And that show hit perfectly for all the scenes that we have here in L.A. You had Anti-Sec for all the crusty fucking punks, your Discharge fans and your crust monsters. You had fucking Toxic Holocaust for all the thrash kids. And you had Midnight, which is basically a combination of fucking Motorhead and Venom. All on the same bill.
So going back to the joint days, you had done Razor Radio was actually the station. That's what the station was called. It was
called Razor KXRT.
Right.
Razor Radio, yeah.
Right. But you would have this thing called Monster Metal that I remember.
That was my show on Razor Radio.
Okay. And so who are some of the other DJs? And I want to get back to what Monster Metal actually was.
Well, Andrea was always there. And then we had, what's her name, Nikki. She helped me out for a little while. And then I've had
You had Abominator on there.
Abominator did Hellheim Radio, and Chris Hateward did Hatewar's Bunker. So basically, we had Abominator doing death metal, and we had Hateward doing black metal, and I was pretty much covering all metal and mostly thrash.
Right.
So yeah.
And so you had a thing called Monster Metal. That was kind of like your show.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know how that whole thing came to be and what you were going for.
Well, originally, Kong Radio, Alan, he used to be on K-Rock a long time ago. He was part of Andrea's partner with this internet radio stuff. And he's the one who got the Razor running, and I'm the one who took it over from him. And it was already monster themed. He had all this monster stuff. And I'm like, fuck it, let's call it Monster Metal. I didn't put a lot of thought into it, dude.
Well, I'm just saying, like, what you wanted to accomplish with Monster Metal, I guess.
What we hoped to accomplish, but the joint didn't work, was I wanted to do more live broadcasts out of the joint where we had bands playing. I did a couple of them, which were all right. I had a Cynical play once on the radio. I had Deadbolt, which is Steve from Skin Lab's other band. They were on the radio once. Bipolar from Las Vegas. And, God, I'm missing somebody. I think it was fucking what's the band, the fucking funny fucking band from fucking Arizona. It'll come to me anyway. But we did a few live broadcasts. They're all right. I needed more mics and more equipment to do the live broadcasts right. And not too many people were tuning into the internet to listen to live metal.
Right, and this is obviously way before like podcasts started becoming popular.
And what became popular with me when I moved Razor Radio from the joint to Dash was debuting songs. That's how you want to get your shows. Have a band come in and play their fucking song. The first place you can hear it is on your show. That's the way you do it. That's the way you get big.
It is, dude. It worked so well for what I remember it
my
doing.
show, yeah, my show, yeah.
And I'm just curious.
We still got bands that won't bring their fucking first music, except to me.
Right, like us,
like you and Hellbender.
So you would play nothing but like new stuff, and I really appreciated that too because
I had New Metal Saturday.
I wanted to hear the new bands that were popping up, and so you would play. You would play bands like Madrost, obviously, Brain Dead, and that's how I discovered a lot of these bands.
Mm-hmm. That you ended up playing with. I ended up going on tour with.
Yeah, so a lot of that was through your radio show and stuff.
You got it. And then we do things with the Poor Kids where one of the things I liked at the joint was the Free Metal Fridays we do. Sometimes they were hit or miss, but we had some fucking raging ones.
So the joint was, I think, all ages, if I'm not mistaken.
Sometimes we could go all ages. We could go 18 and over or 21. Most of the time it was 18 and over because
liability
and mosh pits, and you don't want a 16-year-old kid getting taken out of a mosh pit.
But
then again, I remember Abigail playing there from Japan, the thrash band, which was a joint show we did with Dismal, and that's another thing. We let Dismal come back in the scene after his thing, and that was the first place he started getting the book. Was at the joint.
I wanted to know this too. So you're with you booking bands, how did you pick the bands you wanted? What was your process of elimination when it came to actually wanting to have a band play? What did you look for in a band?
I didn't really look for. I never had a problem because bands would come to us.
Okay.
And as far as the stuff that I was doing, because I was really keeping it really local. If the bigger bands came through, I was always hooked up with Russ and Dougie from the Poor Kids or Dan Dismal. Those guys. I learned a lot from Dismal. We would sit there and we brought Nazem in the joint, Rotten Sounds, Abigail from Japan. Abigail that year. They played 3 shows in the U.S. They played fucking Maryland Death Fest, Chaos and Taos, and the joint, and then they went back to Japan.
But I'm just saying, even your locals, how did you have that process?
I would
just
listen to tapes.
Come to you? Okay.
They would come and give me tapes and whatever, and I tried something too that I tried really hard when Steel Panther was still big on Monday nights at the House of Blues in Hollywood. We tried to do the anti-Steel Panther thing on Monday nights for 6 months, and I think it was in 2012 or 2013, and we had Fender's Ballroom Band play every Monday night after when football was on at the joint. $1 cover, $1 beers. And it got a couple busy things, but the ad campaign I was running was so much fun. It's like, did you hate that glam shit in the 80s too? Well, you can relive your days with Fender's Ballroom Band, because Fender's Ballroom Band, when they were together and everything was rolling, they were a great band.
Yeah, I remember playing with them.
They could play fucking everything from King Diamond to fucking Attitude Adjustment.
Yeah, I remember playing with them and
3 singers.
Heredicide and
Yeah. Like,
God damn it, who else? It was in like 2014 or something.
Yeah. It was right towards.
Anyway, they loved us.
Yeah.
But that was my point in all this. But they were a great fucking band, dude.
Yeah, they were a cover band.
Yeah, but they were a great fucking cover.
Yeah,
band.
and we were trying to do the anti-Steel Panther thing. That was one of my first big promotion things when I started getting into book of shit at the joint.
So here's well, I have other topics I want to discuss after
Sure.
your journey. But so why did you stop actually booking shows at the joint? Like
Because it was going under.
Okay, well,
And metal
walk me
shows. I
through it.
mean, towards the end, Andrea was getting ready to sell it and all that stuff, and I was more concerned with the radio station at that point.
But it turned into the Black Rose Tavern, right?
Yep. And I still booked like one show there too. You know, I would help out with what they were doing, but I could always bring in Russ or something like that to book the shows. I wanted to get the Razor KXRZ going,
Right.
and when she sold the place, she actually just gave me the entire station. So
That's awesome. So, but you were also booking at like Loaded.
oh yeah, I
and
booked it
stuff,
Loaded.
too.
I booked Loaded. I booked a couple of places. But I had a real bad thing happen on Halloween in 2015. We won't mention any band names. I had this
Well,
big-
if you've been following the station and following my career or Andy's career,
Mhm.
you probably know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
But-
and it sucked, and it really soured me to booking. I mean, when you bring the guys their shit backstage, their beer on, and they grab it, take and leave, they kind of piss you off.
Right. Well, I was just merely saying the joint because I think like she had sold
Nope.
it or something. She was
Yeah,
just,
she
like,
sold
she
it.
Was
She
just
was
done
done.
with
She sold that. She sold her house in Santa Monica. Kyle sold his house in fucking out in Oxnard. They have a nice house in Calabasas. He's working on making fucking CGI. He's making Tom Cruise's plane fly right now.
Right.
Or he was. And she's back into doing legal work. You know, they're
But-
fucking very happy.
But
She wasn't suited to be a club.
Right, but which leaves me to ask you this, and that is, when that whole thing went down, like, what was your next step? What did you?
That's when Ricky Palomino called me, actually. Not within, like, a couple months after the joint closed.
2015?
2015, yeah. something like
Okay.
that. He calls me and goes, Andy, I got an offer. I know you won't refuse. And I'm like, I knew Rick a little bit. You know, I seen him metal shows. And like, okay, come down to Snoop Studio tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, I got to go down to fucking Doggy Style Studios. And that's when we found out about Dash.
And so, what was the deal?
They were starting the first fucking metal station on Dash Radio, which was already established and had fucking like 100 channels. And I got to do a show in a fucking real fucking recording studio, you know, fucking once or twice a week. I got to keep doing basically what I was doing on the Razor, except
But it was live too.
Yes, it was.
So
yes.
was this wasn't obviously the first live show you did.
No, I used to do that at the Fox.
But you didn't have that much experience with it, or
You know, it's feeling out. Anytime you go to a brand new equipment and stuff like that, you're gonna fuck up.
well, right. I was just merely saying, like, how did you transition from doing it
The one way I did it,
where like where you
it's
were
just you know you just gotta figure out a new system.
pre-recorded versus live. You know
well,
what I mean?
we did live occasionally. I mean, I did.
At KNAC, obviously
no,
you
the
did.
Razor too. We did Tommy Victor live from Loaded. I broadcast a show on the Razor live from the Poor Kids Mansion kitchen during the Rump Shaker Fest. That was where I met Jason Tyler and Lazarus Casket. They came on my show. We were in the kitchen. You know how the kitchen at the Poor Kids Mansion, you can overlook everything? I was doing the Razor Monster Metal up there live while the whole Rump Shaker Fest was going on with fucking Temple of Dagon, Conjurer, and a bunch of other bands. So I was doing that because I used to have a way I could do it live.
So yeah, being proven wrong already. I love it. So
I mean, it
You
had
had
it had about a
experience in both.
2-minute delay, but it was still live.
you did have experience in both. So
Oh,
you get the call. You
One of the
go
great
to-
things about Dash too is Ricky's like, oh, and I got this great idea for the show called Metal for the Nation, which the first season we were there, we got to do the Oakland Raiders, and we got to go up to every home game and play fucking metal in the parking lot, heavy metal, and you have no idea how many fucking metalheads, especially in the Bay or even down here, are fucking Raider fans. Hatfield's got his own box there. Chuck Billy's, you know, Phil Demo, they're always there. Zetro. And there's nothing like an Oakland Raider fucking tailgate party. I'm going to follow it to Vegas.
So, okay, so you get the call for Dash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you start booking bands.
I was booking it Loaded.
Right, you were booking it Loaded, but you also were booking like
The
at the
Black Cast.
studio, right? Or were you booking Black Castle before
I was
you went to
booking
Dash?
No, before Dash, but we never booked anything at the studio.
At Dash Radio, where
we
did some
we never
shows?
booked any shows there. No.
No,
What are you talking about?
yeah, you would have bands come in to interview them.
Yeah, that kind of shows. I thought you meant like come into play.
No, like
No.
actual like.
I booked all my own shit, and I helped other shows out.
Right, but it would be right next to the freeway, right?
Yeah, it's right there, right by Hollywood and Vine.
And you would bring on bands. It would pretty much be what KNAC was for you, except it was your own thing. You could do whatever the fuck you wanted on it.
And I had some good times on there.
So talk to me about that experience.
It was fun, man. I liked it. One thing I really liked about it was I would take the train into Hollywood, on Saturday to get off. And you get off at the fucking station. As soon as you come out of the train, there's the Hollywood sign. I fucking right around the corner from Capitol Records. Just like, I think I want to be in the center of the music industry. I think this is about as center as you're going to fucking get. You know what I mean? LA at that point,
Of course.
I got to meet a lot of really cool people, which have helped me continue on with where I'm at Razor, and what we're doing with, like Tom Hazard. I met him, and now we're on fucking Radio Combat.
Yeah, we're still, and obviously you're still doing it to this day, but I wanted to get, real quick before this, I wanted to get to the Dash days.
Yeah.
You would book, like you would have bands, like literally full bands on.
Yeah, because I had
show.
6 seats, yeah.
So you would literally
I had
have,
your whole band.
Right. So my point in all this is, that's where it was kind of different. It was because you had literally every member, so you would interview people that didn't really get interviewed very much.
Your fucking band shirt, before their record even came out, like 3 months, they came and debuted songs.
Oh, the Nova Rain?
Yeah, and I had all the Nova Rains in front of me.
I'm just saying, but I was, if we ever get into my story, I'll reference this, but I was doing the same thing you were doing, pretty much, except in Orange County. So just to know that somebody else was doing it was like a big deal for me, because it was like, fuck yeah. That means I don't half the work is not put on me. It's like,
and then we came together, and now we're just killing everyone.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it just as much.
I think it's fucking great what we do now.
So do I. I was just curious as to the some of your history or whatever.
Oh yeah, it was fun doing radio in the same place, but I'm having a lot more fun now, where we get to set up. You never know, we're gonna get to set, like we're going to fucking work prong and. Agnostic Front tomorrow, and I don't have any idea where we're setting up or anything. We're bringing the whole works, and it's going to be fun. We're probably going to get to talk to Roger Merritt, Tommy Victor, and Vinny Stigma tomorrow.
It's going to be awesome. But
Stigma!
So you obviously booked, and that only lasted from like 2015?
2014
to
what, last year?
2017, 2008. 2018.
So 4 years.
So
sometimes in the radio, that's a fucking long time.
Well, the whole scene around that time too was kind of changing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you still had thrash bands; they weren't as prevalent anymore because
still
aren't. But you would have
thrash is a gateway fucking metal. It's right there with fucking new metal as far as gateway.
My point is the hard rock scene kind of hit. In LA, like the Void Vaders and the Iron Knots.
Oh, Void Vaders fucking doing great right now.
But that whole style of music was huge in LA. It was just happening or whatever. So you would be booking obviously those type of bands plus
touring bands when they came through.
Right. So that's my point. It's just all the different types of bands.
We tried to pull some crazy shit off. Like I remember when fucking Obituary was at the Fonda for something. Trevor was going to come down, and he ended up fucking breaking something, and they couldn't. They were just going to walk down from fucking the Fonda and walk down, and because I've known Trevor Perez for a long time,
right?
Yeah, and just didn't work out. I tried that a couple of times. Trying to nail down, that's the one hardest thing. Sometimes when events on tour, like what we do, is so much better because we actually go to their show, and they don't have to worry about fucking trying to find a radio studio where they're trying to do all the other stuff. Which I think is one of the brilliant things that we do with our show.
Well, it's different. It's like a new chapter, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's something we're starting new, and people like it, seem to enjoy it. We have home base in Grill Mall, but if a touring band's coming through, like Agnostic Front tomorrow, we're not going to try to get Agnostic Front away from where their show's at, away from their dressing room, their writer. We're going to go to their thing, set up our radio show, and fucking do it.
Well, it's also kind of a convenience for me too. And yourself, because if we want to go and see the show, Literally, we just have to fucking walk into the show and we.
Well, yeah. Most people are once you put them on the radio, they're usually pretty good about letting you see their show.
Well, it's not only that, like, you become friends with these people too. You get to know the promoters. You get to know like what venues are cool and what aren't.
Actually, sometimes you even get tour managers their job. Because I mean, technically, Joaquin's tour manager in Prawn right now. He was on Razor Radio with me when we interviewed Tommy Victor at Loaded at one of our shows.
I'm just saying, there's tons of connections involved here.
Oh yeah, you meet everybody.
My point in all this is like we get to enjoy the shows too and interview the bands conveniently.
Oh yeah,
it's convenient for the band, so there's no excuse of like. I mean, I've had only I think one band like decline me for an interview at their like event. So I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
one or two.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that swap meet?
Yes. But
Jarvis.
No. He said he would give me one. He just didn't end up showing.
I'm just fucking with him. Anyway,
but,
I love Jarvis.
My point in all this is like most of them are really cool about it too.
Yeah,
so
if you show up,
if you show up and they're like, oh fuck yeah, like
what band doesn't want promotion?
That's what I say too.
If you don't want promotion, you're fucking in the wrong business. Even if you're in the cultist of cult black metal band, you know what I mean?
So after the Dash thing kind of went south.
Well, you know why most of that went south was, right? Before we went to fucking Yo Radio.
Well, I do, but the audience doesn't.
Certain people were fucking getting paid lots of money under the table for having things, and they weren't sharing it with any of the content creators. Yet he wouldn't let us run commercials. That's all I'll say to that.
There you go. So obviously you moved on to the Yo Radio,
which I love. It was a great app. It's
yeah,
never down. It never has any problems. I never hear anybody complaining about it not loading.
And we still have obviously a loyal following.
Radio Combat, hell yeah.
With our listeners.
Oh yeah, we got a great fucking following.
And so my point is so what's kind of changed for you as far as being on, I guess, the old station on.
I like being on Radio Combat.
On Yo Radio compared to Radio.
I like being
Radio
on
Combat.
because Dave Ellison owns it. To tell you the truth, I never thought in a million years watching. I was at Megadeth's first show in the Bay Area in '84 with Abattoir and Trouble, and here we are. What fucking almost 30 years later, and I work for for David Ellison. All right, I'm not going to call him that word that everybody else calls him. I found out he doesn't like that.
Oh yeah, I just call him Dave.
Yeah, David. But I think it's really cool. And I tell you what, when you tell people that, because the internet radio stations are down a dozen,
yeah,
right?
No, but
they are. But when you tell them that your station has to be owned by David Ellison of Megadeth,
yeah, people take it seriously.
People are like, oh, really?
Well, people take it seriously, dude. It's like another fucking.
And then you mentioned that Tom Hazard. Hazard's been on the radio for fucking 20 years.
I'm just saying, like, it credibility is really what it takes.
Yeah, I agree.
And so which leads us to nowadays, like, give me a rundown, and talk to me like I'm not, your co-host. But how did you get into doing actual fucking, I guess, remote, live from venues? Like, how did that whole thing start for you?
Jason Tyler actually started it, basically, if you recall. Do you remember Steve-O when he asked his wife he got engaged? What was it, that fucking show he did?
Oh, yeah, that was the show that I did. That
yeah,
I was broadcasting
you guys were
live
podcasting on like Steve-O's shit, right?
Yes. Oh, I feel like I inspired something.
A little bit, and it was cool. Jason's like, why don't you guys podcast out back? Because I was on the podcast.
Yeah, but
and
we didn't know how to. You didn't know how to do it at that time, and neither.
No, but we got on there and we talked, and I guess Steve-O still got fucking like a couple hours of us just fucking going off and fucking crazy stuff. I'm so fucking high at one point I fucking said Deep Purple's from fucking Sweden or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck was I talking about? Anyway, fucking, we were having we were on a blast. We were going, and it's like, this is fucking fun.
I see. I always thought it was because California was on. They're broadcasting live from Malone's in the Back, where we usually do Razor now. And I remember this too. This played into a part where you're like, dude, we should be doing this because you saw me doing it like by myself, and I'm like, well, not really, because California wasn't gonna last. It was me. It was literally a favor for me just to be on radio again.
Yeah,
exactly. I didn't have a fucking podcast.
Maybe that was part. I don't know if I remember that.
I do.
Okay.
No, I
do remember. It basically, if you want to get technical, it was Jason Tyler.
It's true.
That's why we consider him our third member of our show.
But my point in all this too is I think you saw the gear that I had too, and you're like, dude, if you could do it,
Why can't I?
You're like, we should be doing this. And I said,
Yeah.
that's a great idea. Let's fucking do it as a team. It's
And here we are, and the fucking show keeps getting bigger and bigger.
And so, but we learned a lot along the way, like having these obviously the camera's cut off right now, but you're just hearing audio. But we do have, what would you say, mic clamps and we can literally set up from, if you have a fucking table, we can literally.
Yeah, we're set up on a fucking box in my room.
Yeah. So my point is it's a convenience thing now. It's everything nowadays. It's convenience, radio wise.
I just
music wise,
you connect more with the fans and everybody when you go out and do that. And plus, like I said with the bands, if you're a band that's coming on tour or something like that, and you want to do the radio station, and you only got so many hours in the afternoon when you got to load in and do all that stuff, it's a lot easier for the radio station to come set up at your show than for them to go fucking, oh, we're in Hollywood, we're playing in Garden Grove, or we're playing in fucking Anaheim. Now we'll come there, and there's no excuse for you not to come and give me a good interview. You know what I mean?
I do. I mean, I've been a part of it. I want to thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Earlier this year, we did 2 of the 3 Tremors, Sean Peck and the Tyrant, and that was one of my favorite interviews we did all year. We were freezing our ass off.
Oh yeah,
but
it was fucking cold as fuck, dude. That was cold as fuck.
That was a good interview though. Really good interview.
I thought we had a great time, and I think the other fun thing to do, because we weren't doing it like this, where this is what happened. So I was doing it obviously from Malone's, and my camera, I had the camera set up, so I was filming me doing it, and I think you saw it, and it was like,
why are we broadcasting live?
Why are we broadcasting live or whatever? And so,
where'd you go hit that fucker, dude? Turn it back on.
Well, it's out of batteries right now.
Oh, okay.
I got to charge it.
Let's maybe take a break then.
My point in all this is I think that having the camera plays into effect of the station too, because there's no excuse for people not to click on it, because it's on Facebook. It's literally, it's there. It's right there. So
I actually think we get more responses sometimes to the interviews posted on Facebook than what they're listening on Radio Combat.
I think having both is
exactly
equally important. So
it's perfect.
Because it brings the listener and the viewer into
Plus
the show.
It lets people know our faces. And
and we're still relevant.
Plus, it's still live when we say we're live from this venue.
It's true, and it keeps us too relevant, right?
Yeah,
that's why I haven't had to play a lot of shows, because I've been doing radio.
Yeah, and plus you got this station with the show right now.
Yeah,
you're building it. You just keep continuing building it.
Doing episodes, and I, like I said, I appreciate you giving me 2 hours to fucking do this. It's been 2 hours of your journey. Yeah,
we're not even done yet.
And we're not done yet. So let's move on to the next chapter. So currently, where are we at?
We are at radio. We just left fucking Dash, and we went to Yo Radio, and we are at Radio Combat, where we're currently at home working for Dave Ellison.
Correct. And I'm saying after that, what's
I
future-wise?
want to build the show up. That's me. I just want to continue doing what we're doing. I have the most amazing girlfriend in the world. She is masterful at fucking doing graphic design. And my next step is maybe even thinking about doing a magazine. I've been looking at what the magazine she was putting together for Merch Live, and I've been looking at fucking Rock and Roll Industries magazine and seeing the ads that were put in there and that kind of stuff. And there's no reason I couldn't do a print magazine. I've done fanzines in the past.
I was going to say, why don't we apply your knowledge of this
to a magazine? Exactly. And her graphic design skill,
And then I don't know where I'd fit in.
You could do an interview. You can do an interview. You could transcribe.
I think so.
You've done many interviews, but you just got to learn how to transcribe it, because doing note for note interviews are really simple. You just have a conversation and you fucking do. It's
so much easier nowadays to do that.
Yeah, especially on something. But I'm thinking about maybe a magazine, because people seem to like them.
Love it.
And maybe calling it
Razor magazine. I like that.
It's just something. And then I'd like to get the show up going to where I've got somebody in my girlfriend who also understands how advertising works, which is something that I don't know shit about. All right? I don't. That's why even growing up, a job that you could always get Sonoma County and San Francisco and stuff like that, you could always get a job in radio, but it wasn't like being on air and all that stuff. It was being in the advertising department. Somebody bringing somebody in to try to sell ads on the radio. It was never the guys that were on the talent, doing the ad part. And now there's so much of it, and you got to learn how to do it. And we're getting enough listeners, and I think there's potential out there to fucking take it to the next level.
I like it. So let's. I have a couple topics.
Cool.
Real quick, if you don't mind, and give me some insight, because I know you don't get interviewed a lot.
Last time I got interviewed was like 4 years ago.
Okay.
It was for Entertainment Drive-Thru.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool interview.
So how long did it last?
About 15 minutes.
Okay. This is an
it's a little bit hardcore.
hour and 45 minutes right now. So here's my question, and I don't think I've ever asked you this, but me and you have been in the scene for a long time, dude. A long fucking time. And I was just curious because we used to have all ages venues.
Yep.
And I wanted to get your perspective on this.
I think it's killing.
And what have you seen change from not having all ages venues as far for the metal community?
Yeah, you're not getting the young kids. They don't get to go to shows. They don't get to experience that. Now they get to go to the big, like Ozfest and that kind of stuff. But you got to have all ages venues. I mean, that's teenagers. They want to go see fucking bands. That's why I'm sure something else is going to pop up, like the Black Castle or something like that soon. They were doing over here, right here at Southgate. They were doing Shenanigans for a while, which was going pretty big. And that place would have 300 or 400 kids on a Friday night or whatever. Sometimes.
It was awesome, dude. And it's
matter of fact, we're going to go see that guy tonight.
Mm-hmm. We are as soon as we're done with this broadcast.
But at Shenanigans, I'm sure part of me. I used to run an underground warehouse in the '90s called Subculture with Dollar Bill, and at one point, man, I would be out there because it was in a warehouse area where other bands practice, so there's always noise. And as long as we kept the kids inside with the beer, right, we never had any problems. I'd be standing out there with this guy that looked like James Hetfield was my bouncer, and we'd have fucking Skin Lab, Torque, which was the band Violence turned into, Indulgence Bill's band, and Sandy Puppets in there. 450 kids raging, and the cops would just roll by and wave. We just way back. And because there was already noise because other bands were practicing. And every other Saturday night we would do punk and metal. And we made money. It was fucking fun. And the kids, believe it or not, it got to the point where the Bay Area was there was either all ages places like the Phoenix Theater, which is like the Chain Reaction here, or 21 and over. And a lot of the metal bands at this time in the late 90s were talking about, well, if you want to play a raging show with the kids, you got to play someplace that, and there's no booze. And all these guys were, well past drinking age. And they didn't like playing where there was no booze. But if you played our place, there was booze, and the kids would come in and go ape shit, and that was the only place you were getting at. Because if you played a 21 and over crowd, a lot of the time you were getting Night of the Bobbing Head, they would call it, which is a metal show, but you're playing something real heavy, but everyone's still going, just bobbing along. Because I'm 50 years old. I ain't fucking moshing anymore, dude. You know what I mean? I mean, I get the urge sometime, but I realize I have to stop.
I agree with you on all points. That's why I brought up the question, because I think it's kind of killing the music scene for the next generation.
Having them separated, yeah.
Because when I was playing shows and going to shows, there were so many fucking all ages venues that I could go see a Warbringer play. Mm-hmm. I could go see them.
Wait, so where you got left the whiskey now?
I could go play with them at all ages venues.
Yeah.
So kids would be able to learn about us, right?
Yep.
Nowadays it's not like that.
How many all ages venues got left? No, you got the whiskey,
Chain Reaction,
and the Roxy.
In L.A., okay, you're talking.
I'm talking about Southern California. You can Chain Reaction, Glass House.
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah.
And then I think that's about it, dude. You got the Roxy and the whiskey. You got the fucking Chain Reaction and the Glass House.
Yeah, because the Viper Room's not.
Viper Room's 21 and over.
Yeah. So that's why I brought up the question. I think it's.
I mean, yeah,
it's killing somewhat.
Well,
killing
you don't get the next generation, and the kids now. I mean, there's a thriving backyard party scene still going. These bands,
and
we're going to one of them tonight.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
But here's the thing, dude. Eventually, if these bands want to take it to the next level, they got to go to clubs.
Of course, it's about making that next step. So here's another question, man. Since we've been doing radio, I've noticed this, and it could just be me. Maybe it's just because I'm not as informed about it. But the new wave of traditional heavy metal, isn't as prevalent as what the thrash scene was back then.
No way.
And I'm just kind of curious as to why that is, because there's so many. There's a lot of bands doing the traditional heavy metal thing, but there's no avenues for it. There's no Thrasher to Miles anymore. The Frost and Fire was. When
Dismal tried with the Strike Fest, and he didn't have a real successful time with it, so he's not doing it again. We need to bring back Murder Fest. Is what we need to do. We need a good, solid fucking festival here in LA.
It's true, but I was just merely saying like for the traditional heavy metal thing, it's nowhere near as fucking like viable as what the thrash scene did.
No. Well, traditional heavy metal will never be that way because the thrash scene came and killed it. I remember when you were listening to traditional heavy metal. I can give you a great example of this. This is since we got time, we're talking stories. The first night I met Grim Kim, Kim Guadamaz, DJ Kim. It was after the Witch Haven had played at the Boulevard, and we were at after party at her when she was still going to USC at the dorm. And somebody was on YouTube playing some of the most obscure fucking new wave of British heavy metal they could find. I mean, we're talking obscure. Witchfind in general, even like their hidden singles and shit like that. You know what I mean? And they just kept playing that all night long. I was like, Jesus Christ, put on some fucking Exodus. Exodus, yeah, that's what came along and fucking knocked us into the next wave after that. And it's like, the new wave of British heavy metal is great, but it's not going to light the world on fire anymore because most of it's already been done. You can't come back with music that's already been done. You know, I mean, Night Demon, they're great bands. They're not knocking down any barriers. You know what I mean? I love them. They're fucking tight. They write great songs. But there's nothing innovative there.
So is that where it comes into play? Is the innovation?
I think so. I mean, because that's look at the last great movement in metal, which was fucking new metal, right? Right. I mean, that's where we topped the charts consistently.
Oh, gotcha. Yes.
And they were pushing boundaries, down tuning and fucking had DJ. You know, you're not doing that when you're rehashing music from the past.
It's true.
I mean, I still think one of the bands that we really need to make a new record if you want to get fucking metal back right now is System of a Down.
Yes.
Because everybody liked their shit. Their fucking songs are catchy, and they're fucking doing innovative shit. They were,
true.
You know, and apparently they're getting ready to make one. So
but you're talking mainstream wise too, so I can definitely get behind that. But
a mainstream band,
I was talking underground wise. Like it's not. That's
the underground will never go away.
Right, but I'm saying the thrash scene in the underground, huge.
Yeah.
The heavy metal thing.
Oh, it had its moment. And
it had its moment and it's died.
It's because thrash is one of the most basic
forms
of metal.
I think it's because it holds more weight, kind of thing.
Yeah,
too.
that and it's heavy. And here's the thing, thrash. I mean, if you had to describe what metal was, you might go Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, but you also might go Metallica, right?
Yeah, see, I would go heavier than that. I would go like what Death. Old school, Death.
I'm talking about somebody who didn't know any metal at all.
True.
You'd go Black Sabbath, maybe fucking Metallica.
Oh, you're talking the starting points?
Yeah.
Okay.
And thrash.
I would go.
And the reason why thrash is always going to be considered a big move, right, is because it's got basically that's where the fucking biggest metal band on the planet, in the universe, fucking came from. You know what I mean? That's why thrash is always going to be around. Always. Plus, it's aggressive. It's a music that you hit your friend in the fucking face. You know what I mean?
I do. I like that answer.
Gives you a fucking middle finger, too. You know?
And then...
thrash is always a fuck you metal. It is.
Here's a question for you. So, you already know L.A. is rampantly run by promoters. So there was a lot of them. But I
know the good ones and the bad ones.
But you continued to book. Why did you want to book shows in L.A. when there were other promoters?
When are you talking about? What time frame here? Like me now? Like the show I did 2 weeks?
Like the Joint. Yeah.
I did a Joint. Show. I started booking at the Joint to help Andrea out. I just came there to work the door and run the station and help with the starting musicians thing. But she likes heavy metal. And she's like, bring some metal bands in here, Andy. And it just worked that way.
So she gave you a platform. You just
plus I was already fucking working the door at the Boulevard and working the door for Hate War, so I knew all the bands. So,
but that's my point. You were booking like thrash kind of bands. I don't see a lot of heavy metal bands being booked anymore. Like traditional. That's why I brought up that question earlier.
Yeah. Well,
because there's not a lot of bands like that are doing that style.
There's Blade Killer
here.
And fucking 19 all I can think of really quick.
Yeah, I mean that are playing shows or whatever. There's not many bands like playing shows. They're probably releasing records.
No, well, there's Haunt too from fucking Fresno. Those guys are really good.
But that's not from here. I'm talking
California.
Yeah,
pretty close though.
But LA just had a huge thrash movement in the mid 2000s.
Oh yeah. Well, dude,
personally, this new fucking traditional
thing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm pretty sure LA has the best metal scene in the world. I really have, because we have so many different genres, and we can have multiple shows in one night, and they can all sell out. October 7th, like 2 years ago, I'll never forget it. I had to make the choice between going to see Scorpions with Megadeth at the Forum, My favorite band, Exodus, in Obituary downtown at the Tailroom, or fucking Nail Bomb at the Whiskey.
And he chose Exodus, ladies.
No, I didn't. I chose Nail Bomb.
Wow.
Because I got to interview Max and go and hang out on the bus with him and all that stuff. Plus, I love Exodus. I'd already seen him twice last year.
Well, you know what?
And I was never going to get to see Nail Bomb. That's probably the only time I'm ever going to get to see Nail Bomb play.
You know that I took my dad to that show, and I wanted to take him just for Obituary because he had never seen him, and I said Obituary is like one of the heaviest bands you will probably see live.
Yeah, I just seen him twice with Cannibal Corpse.
Holy shit,
like
dude!
A couple months before that, Christmas before last, I seen them play here, and then I seen him out in Arizona at my mom's house with a Club Red. I went with Steve from Motive to see, and I took my nephew to his first death metal show, and he got out in the pit with Cannibal Corpse and Obituary.
Fucking awesome. But yeah, so is it real quick before I let you go? I want to thank you for the 2 hours of this conversation.
Yes.
Are there any other topics you want to discuss?
Metal. Just metal in general. You never know it's going to hit big, and I hate these guys. This is just one thing I got to put out. I hate guys that always put out that they're only a fucking black metal guy, or they're only a fucking death metal guy, or this is the only type of, you know what I mean? I like all types of metal. There's even glam metal I fucking like, you know what I mean? I like pop metal. I like fucking death. If it's done well, I'll fucking listen to it. And sometimes I try to stay away from stuff that's really big, like on my show, mainstream. But dude, every time Metallica puts out a record, I'm right there on the first day. I fucking listen to it. They could fart in a jewel case, and I'd probably open it up and fucking, damn it, because they meant so much to me at one point. And if it's metal, I checked out the new Baby Metal album. I check it all. Everything gets edited. That's just to let everybody out there know. I check out everything gets sent to me, And speaking of that, why don't we roll this up and maybe listen to the next Ex Mortis?
I'm down right now. But I want to thank Mr. Andy Ford for the 2 hours of conversation. This will be on this Spreaker app or whatever.
Yeah, I'll share it.
And it'll be on YouTube and stuff. So I'll cut it up, make it all nice, and
obviously we will have Agnostic Front and Tommy Victor on the show next week on Razor Radio.
On Razor Radio. So for Poppitt's Corner, I'm out of here, guys. I want to thank Mr. Andy Ford.
We're gonna go watch some metal.
2 hours of conversation. We're gonna go
watch Reaper and Sacred Origin.
That's right. Cheers.
See ya.